All right, let's do this. Good morning, everyone. It's been a while, but it's good to be back here with the Pigskin pregame stream. Been a minute on it. It's been like maybe 2 months at this point since I've been able to go live on a Sunday morning, but I'm very excited for this one. We've got a good slate of games coming up here on Sunday. We've got really a big day in the football world. Of course, a lot of people might be locked in right now with the college football playoff. The selection is going to be going, I think the selection show is at noon Eastern time, so 2 hours from now. So hopefully there won't be too much overlap, but maybe we'll get my live reaction to that, because even though this is definitely an NFL channel and NFL is my main jam, I definitely don't know college football as well. It still is very interesting, and I think that especially this year, we've got just an intriguing dilemma facing the committee. I certainly do not envy them one bit. But before we do all that, we got to get in to this Sunday slate of games. A pretty good one, I got to say, if I say so myself. We're going to switch over here. We got Tyler in here. What's going on, Tyler? Says the doctor's in. Good to see you, Tyler. How's it going? Caden in here as well saying, oh yeah, I got to switch my screen. I didn't realize I had my OBS up there, but here we go. Pigskin pregame. Good to see you guys. And yeah, I mean, you guys know the vibes, right? We're going to break down the Thursday game a little bit, dive into these Sunday games, the Monday game too, make our picks, and just talk some ball. So I think we'll get started here in a minute or two. I'm going to have a swig of water, but how have you guys been doing? How's your Sunday been going so far? You guys getting ready for a big day of football here? I'm rocking the NDSU hoodie. I've not worn this hoodie in a while. I actually threw it on yesterday. Of course, the elephant in the room is Georgia lost in the SEC championship game. Very sad. And likely knocked them out of the college football playoff, which means no three-peat. But, you know, it's been one heck of a run, man. You can't complain too much. I mean, the fact that Georgia has had probably their best run in program history, not only while I'm alive, but while I've been a literal student here. Like, I've been in Athens while this is all unfolded. I mean, it's a pretty sweet experience as a college football fan, right? I mean, it's like, I have a one-up on my dad. My dad got to be a Georgetown student kind of during their glory days of basketball. He was there, I don't remember if Pat Ewing was there or not, but it was like right after they won their championship, but they still just had some stacked teams. I think they had Alonzo Mourning or Dikembe Mutombo, one of the big men. But I have a one-up on him. That'd be like if Georgetown won back-to-back natties with Pat Ewing while my dad was there. So that is pretty sweet. I'll always be able to look back on UGA football with a smile on my face, and the impressive run that they've had. Yeah, I actually walked out to Sanford Stadium last night after the game, and I just went out. You can go into one of the concourses, kind of. I don't know. A lot of people take their grad photos there, and you can see the field. Tyler knows what I'm talking about. Gabe knows what I'm talking about as he pops in here. But I just went out there, that little area where all the girls, the sorority girls take they're popping their champagne pictures, whatever. But I just stood out there and I stared at the field for legitimately 20 minutes, just reflecting on my time cheering for UGA while being a student here. And it's actually kind of nice. I don't know. I just thought back to all the fun that I've had going to these games, right? Georgia, out of all my favorite teams, Georgia is the team that I've seen play live the most. And, you know, with me graduating in a few weeks, it was a nice little reflection moment that I had thinking about this incredible run for the Bulldogs. And I don't want to say it was because of me, but before I came here, they couldn't get over the hump. I show up, they win 2 natties, so you're welcome. But yeah, tough loss for Georgia. They got outplayed. They did. You know, they lost by 3. It was a close game. I saw some people on social media talking about maybe the catch that wasn't, but Jalen Milroe had himself a game. I mean, he was just making plays with his legs when they needed him the most. He was able to pick up those first downs. And as Tyler said, I love the quote that Tyler said in the group chat. Alabama's O-line and corners were playing like rent was due. Yeah, they were, man. They were. So kudos to Bama. Heck of a win. But the reason I'm rocking this And I didn't want to bring it up in the group chat yesterday because I know the mood was kind of somber, and understandably so. How about North Dakota State with a awesome, thrilling, back and forth, come from behind, and I stress this last part because I don't get to say it often. Upset victory over Montana State. Montana State ranked number 2 in all of the FCS, the number 2 seed. The Bison went on the road into Bozeman in an overtime victory, stun Montana State, and they're moving on in the FCS playoffs. They're now the winningest team all time in FCS playoff history. Horns freaking up, baby. And if you guys haven't seen how they won this game, it was a blocked extra point in overtime. I mean, just look at the scoring summary. Just a thrilling game. I'm not going to lie. I had this game on at the same time as the UGA game. I had UGA on the big screen. I had this one on my smaller screen, but I was watching both. And, man, NDSU scores late, forced overtime. They score right away in overtime. And then Montana answers one play right away, answers back. Whole crowd wants them to go for 2. Camera cuts to, like, this little kid holding up 2, right? They go for 2. They get it. They win. They go for the extra point. They play it safe, and it's blocked. And it's blocked. And North Dakota State is moving on. They'll play South Dakota next week. University of South Dakota, not SDSU. But USD is pretty darn good this year, too. And this is kind of a revenge game for the Bison, maybe. NDSU played USD on NDSU's homecoming, and they lost at home. So we'll see, man. They'll have to go into Vermilion, though. Vermilion, South Dakota. So we'll be watching that one next week. FCS playoffs, baby. We got Jack in here as well. Welcome to the stream, Jack. Says, morning, Doc. Great day to be a Steelers fan. Yeah, they got the Cardinals coming up, which is a game we'll talk about here in a little bit. It's a big one. And Gabe says cheaters. I'm assuming referring to Michigan. Yeah, I mean, you got to lean into it, right? Michigan versus everyone. Is it Michigan versus everybody? Yeah, a little Eminem, Big Sean reference, kind of. Lean into it. Be the heel. Why not, right? And we got Eshan saying, any chance Commanders upset the Dolphins? Feel like the Dolphins are a bit thin on defense with injuries, and the Commanders have offense. That is a great question. That'll be one of the first games we dive into here. But as a little teaser, and it is a shame about the Dolphins' injuries. We'll talk especially about Jalen Phillips going down, which just broke my heart, man. I don't know if you saw that clip of him, like, he was mic'd up when he got hurt, and he knew it, and he's like, oh, I was hooping too. It's like, yeah, he was hooping. I mean, he's playing some awesome football, and now he's going to probably be out for almost a calendar year, so it's tough. But we got Jack saying, horns up, baby. They were a 6. They were a 6. Wait. I lost my train of thought there. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but we got Caden saying, doing, if you know, you know. Gabe says, hear me out. Alabama did beat UGA, but never has a team outside of the top 6 made a jump into the top 4 after championship week. There is a chance they get left out. There absolutely is a chance that Bama gets left out. I think people are maybe discounting that. Like, it could be Michigan, Washington, FSU, and Texas. Like, that is a possibility. I just don't know how you... It's tough to leave out a one-loss SEC champion. I get it, though. But there's so much, not to sound like that guy, but there's so much prestige with the SEC and just how consistently dominant they've been. I think it's pretty clear that, like, Bama, if Bama gets in, at the very least, they're not going to get the doors blown off. But who knows? Who knows? It is fascinating. They lost to Texas by double digits at home, barely beat Auburn, won by 6 to USF, and then almost lost to Arkansas. If you want to talk the eye test. Yes, but they also beat Georgia, who steamrolled everyone. So it is tough, man. As someone that's always been in favor of expansion, I'm kind of sitting back and watching this being like, so you're saying that there's a lot of teams that deserve to be in. And maybe 12 is too much, but I don't know. It's almost like there's more than just like 2 good teams every year. Crazy. We're doing a lot of college talk, but honestly, I don't mind it. The conversation has been fascinating. But we're going to dive in here to NFL soon after we respond to this last comment here from Gabe. Says, leave both SEC teams out. They won't because they are weak, feeble men that will fall under ESPN's SEC wishes. I mean, there'd be a lot of unhappy campers if there were no SEC teams in. I don't know. It is going to be fascinating. I will have my eyes on this. I think no matter how you shake it out, though, we're going to have a great field. I think that this is like a year where I think any team could win it. There's not like one clear, like, dominant. Steamrolled everyone, beat 6-6 Georgia Tech by 6 points. Okay, you know what I mean, though. They also beat, like, Ole Miss by, like, 80. You know what I mean, but... Montana State was the 6 seed. Montana is the 2 seed. Oh, I'm stupid. I swear they were number 2. Maybe I misread that. Whatever. Regardless, NDSU went on the road and beat them. I think you might actually be right. Montana State. Okay. You know, I know what you mean. Also, Josh Dobbs is my father. Well, unfortunately, Josh Dobbs isn't really anyone's father right now. The Vikings broke my heart, but that's okay. Anyways, NFL football. Let's start with this Thursday night game. I wasn't able to go live for this because I had a magazine assignment due for work that night, which I pretty much had to do all in one night because I had to reschedule an interview with a race car driver that I interviewed. It's actually a pretty interesting story. Dude that grew up in Athens wants to race cars, and he's like working his way up towards the Indy 500, but he had a flat tire the day I was supposed to interview him, so we had to reschedule for the next day. But I had this game on in the background while I was doing some work, and man, we finally got a shootout. It's about time that we've like had some points put up in prime time. Seahawks Cowboys, how about it? And you know what? As my title kind of alluded to, right? All right, here's what I'll say. I would like to submit my official application to be Dak Prescott's PR person. I would love to run campaigns for Dak Prescott similar to how like a campaign manager would for a politician, right? And my first campaign slogan that I've come up for Dak Prescott, right? And it's in the title of this video. It's Dak for MVP. 4 because he's number 4, right? Dak for MVP, why not? Why not Dak Prescott for MVP? Look at how he's played, really, ever since, like, the middle of October. Ever since this game against the 49ers, where everyone seemed to turn on him, and admittedly, they did get beat by 32, and 3 interceptions, although I think that was a bit misleading going back and watching that game after the fact. I think only one of those interceptions was actually a really bad play by him. The other one was just a drop that got bobbled up, and one of them was him just kind of trying to make something happen. They were already getting blown out, trying to hit a big play. Maybe he shouldn't have made that throw, but it's not like, oh, this is just bad quarterback play. The last pick was bad, but ever since that, man, he's just been on an absolute heater in all of these games. Even this loss to Philadelphia, I mean, look at it. It was not on him, that's for sure. He leads the NFL in QBR. He leads the league in touchdowns. He's up there in yards. The Cowboys lead the NFL in points per game. They are they 9-3 now? They're 8-3 or 9-3. And yeah, they're 9-3. And he just, beyond his stats, if you want to talk about the eye test, to use a little college football buzzword, he just looks better than he probably ever has. He is finally marrying a little bit of that playmaking, just a little bit. It's not like a crazy amount. Like, he's not like Lamar or Mahomes or anything. I would say for the most part, Dak Prescott likes to play a boring style of quarterback. Like, he's very much like a traditional pocket passer, just drop back, right? Go through your reads, take the open guy, But when he just turns on the swagger dial just a little bit, when he just lets it rip a little bit more, when he just can create out of structure just a little bit more, and this is the first time we're really seeing that since that ankle injury that ended his season back in 2020. I mean, he just looks like a different quarterback out there. This is probably the best football he's played in his career. It is looking like how he looked during that COVID year where he's on pace for like 6,000 yards after 4 or 5 games. I mean, his best throw from Thursday night might have not even been, like, it wasn't even caught like that. He threw like one, just ripped it up the middle to CeeDee Lamb in double coverage, right? Just an obscenely tight window. You could only put the ball in one spot, and the window's like this big, and he hits CeeDee Lamb like right in the face mask. Like, CeeDee probably didn't even expect the ball to come his way because he was just blanketed by coverage. If CeeDee catches that, that's just an improbable touchdown. I don't even want to blame CeeDee for dropping it, but, like, just watching it, it's like, oh, my goodness. Like, how did he put that ball there? Anyways, I don't know. I feel vindicated watching Dak play the way he has as someone that I went back and looked at my preseason NFL predictions. I had him as my MVP dark horse, and I've kind of stood by Dak through a few of his Dak hasn't always played the greatest hits every game, but I've stood by him, and here he is right in the thick of the MVP race. And the Cowboys, they're hanging around. They are still hanging around for the division. They do face a bit of an uphill battle, but I tell you what, next week, it's going to decide it right here. I mean, the Cowboys kind of have a gauntlet to end the season, right? If they want any chance at winning the division, though, they got to take care of business next week. They're red hot. I mean, look at this stretch here. Only loss was a 5-point close loss to Philly that is a game they probably could have won. We'll see if that comeback's to bite them. It might. But I think they take care of business in Dallas. But that's a conversation for next week. That is a conversation for next week. Oscar asks, Ritter or Dak? Well, I think it depends on what your objective is. If you want to win, then then I might roll with Dak Prescott. If you want to play some Arthur Smith football, though, I don't know. I feel so vindicated. Dak Prescott. That's my king. That's my top 5 QB right there. I guess I was kind of mean to Seattle there. I didn't talk about them. I'll talk about them for a little bit here because that was a season-defining loss for them. And it's a shame because this offense finally looked like it played up to its potential. I mean, their offense has really been up and down this whole year after this Lions game, and then they scored 37 against the Panthers, and then they killed the Giants, right? I mean, they're sitting at like 5-2 right here, and you think, ooh, Seattle might be even better than they were last year, but they've been on a bad stretch here, losing, 4 out of their last 5. They squeaked out one against the Commanders, but the offense has been up and down. It was not a problem against Dallas, though. But I kind of hinted at this on my Monday stream, right? I mean, Seattle kind of needed to get a win here because now they're 6-6. The NFC is definitely not strong, but there are a few more serious teams emerging for those wild card spots. And they've got the Niners again, then the Eagles, Titans, Steelers, Cardinals. Like, if they get to 9 wins, it's going to come down to tiebreakers. And one of the teams that they're in direct competition with, the Rams, swept them. I mean, and they've lost a lot of division games, and that's one of the big tiebreakers. So I don't know that Seattle makes the playoffs, to be honest. I really don't know. They just have a brutal schedule. I don't see them winning either of these games. They're going to have to go 3-0 in this stretch. And even then, that's not a given. Like, I don't know, maybe Mike Tomlin gets his boys ready and, like, TJ Watt goes crazy against this weak offensive line. It could happen. But, yeah, Seattle's going to have to play some really good football down the stretch, I think, if they want to get into the playoffs. Gabe says, the Cowmen. I don't know if that's referring to NDSU or not. That's a thing in North Dakota. Some of the NDSU haters, they call NDSU Moo University or Moo U. They call the bison the cows. Why? I don't know, but they do have a pretty good agricultural program. Caden says, so the NFC North is competitive now. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, it is. Green Bay is right there. The Vikings are 6-6. The Lions, I think after the Vikings losing to the Bears on Monday night, the Lions should feel a lot better about winning the division now. Like, I think they'll get over the finish line. They'll get to like 11 or 12 wins. They'll win the division. There's a world, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there's a world where there's 3 NFC North teams in the playoff. Absolutely. Speaking of playoff, good question from Oscar. What if the college football playoff had an emergency 6-game playoff? I mean, people would be so bad because, like, I don't know, like TCU from previous years or Ohio State or Baylor would be like, oh, now you want to do it when the SEC is getting left out potentially? Like, back when there were 6 compelling teams, when it was like TCU getting left out or Cincinnati and stuff, that's like, no. But like now when it's Bama or Georgia getting left out, it's like, you know. I mean, obviously as a fan of football, right? Like if they said that, I wouldn't complain, especially, you know, it helps looking at the helmet. I always look the wrong way. Looking at the helmet that's behind me, but I don't know. All I'm going to say is more teams in the playoff, I don't think it's a bad thing. Even if like the 12 seed loses, like it's just so crazy. Sometimes I hear like college football fans are like, well, like the 12 seed is going to lose. And it's like, you know, it's kind of crazy. That's kind of how the playoffs usually works, is like usually the lowest seed doesn't win at all. But they have a chance. They always have a chance. I don't know. But I get it. I get it. And college football is just very different from professional sports too. So I understand. Like, it's just changing the fabric of the game. And he says, yeah, they need an upset. They might. I mean, if they could steal a win against the Eagles or the 49ers, I'm assuming you're referring to the Seahawks, that would help. But yeah, that's my take on this. It was a good game. It really was. I don't know. Dak played well. DK Metcalf kind of went off on Deron Bland. But Bland did get his pick. He's kind of having his Trayvon Diggs season, like the 2021 Diggs season where he had a bunch of picks, but he got burned some. I don't know. If your defense, you kind of – I don't always like to say, like, oh, you'll take it, but, like, you kind of live with that because those turnovers just swing a game so much. And, yeah, you hope he doesn't get, like, 150 dropped on his head every week, but he hasn't been getting 150 dropped on his head every week. I feel like that was his worst game in coverage. Like, for the most part, he has been a pretty good cover corner, and he hasn't been like a liability out there. And again, I mean, how many pick sixes does he have? Is it 5 or 6? I can't remember. But he's got more touchdowns than a lot of great offensive players. All right, I'm gonna take a swig of water. Then we're gonna dive into the Sunday slate here because it's a sneaky good slate. We've got some great games, of course. We've got one of the games of the year right here. Got a sneaky good primetime game tonight too. This game is very intriguing. I mean, they're all intriguing. This game is great all of a sudden, out of nowhere. Like, if you'd have told me 2 months ago Broncos-Texans would be one of the games of the week, I'd be like, no shot. Oh, it is all right. It is. But yeah, good to see you guys all in here, waking up with me, as always. Let's do this. All right, Colts-Titans, here we go. Another game that is, like, important. Like, the Colts are relevant. They are. Good on Shane Steichen, who I think we need to have a conversation about for Coach of the Year. I had this Colts team buried, to be honest. If you just like look at their team, their roster, man, I thought they were going to win like 4 games this year, especially if you told me Anthony Richardson would go down for the year, right? And Jonathan Taylor's been in and out of the lineup. I mean, they've been like trotting out an offense with like Zach Moss, a bunch of young receivers, an offensive line that is no longer the glorious powerhouse it once was. Still got some good players, and we've seen guys like Bernard Raymond really take a step forward and develop this year. But this isn't like the 2020 Colts O-line that's just destroying everyone that they face. And a defense with a really young, inexperienced secondary. Shaq Leonard fell off so hard that they cut him. I mean, they just literally let him go. They've been without Grover Stewart, who's one of the more underrated players in the league. And yet they're 6-5. It boggles my mind how this team has 6 wins. They're 6-5. And it hasn't always been pretty. They've eked out some close ones. That Patriots game in Germany is just a sick display of football. But they've won 3 in a row. They've got the Titans here, and they are right in the wild card race. It is incredible. They've gone from having the 4th overall pick to playing relevant football in December. And Shane Steichen has just done such a good job making this running game such a weapon. And they've done this all with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, who has like been trying to sell every week. Like, he just has these mind-boggling turnovers. I kind of like the way Minshew plays, how like I love when backup quarterbacks come in and they just like let it rip, right? And that's the whole idea of Minshew mania, is you're just going to like let it fly. But goodness gracious, this man has been trying to lose them games, but they just keep winning. They've got Zach Moss running the rock well. The defense has come together really well over these past few weeks. Michael Pittman has emerged as like the guy, really. He's a guy that should probably get a big extension here now. They're going up against the Titans, who I think the other shoe is starting to drop with them a little bit. We all got excited over Will Levis after this game. And even in this game against the Steelers, like, he still showed some flashes. But recently, they've started to come back down to earth. They lost to the Bucs. Then they got blown out by Jacksonville. And they squeaked one out against the Panthers. I mean, I guess they have Derrick Henry, who's starting to warm up a little bit. The defensive front is still good, but there's just not a whole lot to get excited about with this Titans team right now. Colts are only a 1-point favorite, which kind of surprises me. And I don't know. I'm going with the Colts here. I think they cover and then some. I'm going to go Colts by 10. Give me Colts 27, Titans 17. Colts pick up a big win, and they stay alive here in this wild card race. They are right there, and then they've got the Jake Browning Bengals. They've got the Steelers, the Falcons, the Raiders, the Texans. Could this team get to like 9 or 10 wins? Maybe. It's a possibility. Man, whoa, could you imagine if the Colts got in the playoffs and not the Texans? For all the hype that the Texans have got, and like deservedly so, the Texans have been sick this year. There is a world where the Colts make the playoffs and Houston doesn't. Absolutely. But all these games are important at this juncture. Chargers, Patriots, we'll dive into that next one. Let's check chat here, though. Gabe with a good comment here. He's saying, I'm seeing the commissioner wants to eliminate the tush push. Please school us, doctor. And we've also got Mile Marker in here saying good morning to all. Good morning, Mile Marker. Welcome back to the stream. Good to have you in here. Big Lions game today, going up against the Saints in the Superdome. We'll be watching that one closely, of course, as we always try and watch every single game, at least somewhat closely. But let's talk about the tush push, because I did see that on Twitter yesterday that Roger Goodell reportedly wants to ban the Eagles tush push. I have a few takes about this. The first one we're going to get into is semantics, right? And this is a take that I developed over Thanksgiving break, and I'm excited to share with the world now. So, and this is silly. I mean, this is literally just like the naming of it, right? Here's my take. The play is called the tush push when every other team does it, right? Like, let's say that like the Vikings tried to do it with Dobbs or Kirk, whatever. That's the tush push. However, when the Philadelphia Eagles do it, I call it the brotherly shove because, one, that name is just awesome, right? They're the city of brotherly love, brotherly shove. It's special to Philly. Philly essentially created that play, so I think that it's fair that they get their own special name for it. And also, I just love like the idea of like calling it the brotherly shove because that's exactly what the play is, right? Jalen Hurts is getting shoved by his brothers, right? Like the offensive line, like, you know, like this team is like a brotherhood, like the quarterback and his line, like they've got this special bond, you know, and like you've got Jason Kelsey and Landon Dickerson and all them shoving to like create this wedge up front. And then you've got the guys behind him pushing him forward. It's like a brotherhood. It's a team play. And I just think it's beautiful. So I don't know. It's silly, right? But I think when the Eagles run it, I call it the brotherly shove for those reasons. When everyone else does it, it's the tush push. And here's why I think it shouldn't be banned, right? Here's another reason why I think the Eagles get that name specifically. It's because they're better at it than everyone else. Like, what their success rate is like, what, 93% on it? And like other teams can run it and get success with it. But it's just so obvious. We've seen it this year that Philly is just better at it than everyone else. And it's because they have Jalen Hurts at quarterback who can squat 600 pounds. They've got a Hall of Famer at center. They've got an all-pro level guard, just like superstars all across their offensive line. I mean, just the way that they execute it, they are just better at it than everyone else. And I don't, you know, I'm by no means like an Eagles cheerleader. Like, I'm not like Eagles hype man number one. I respect the way they play, right? But I just think that's so bogus and unfair to like take away that play because Philly is good at running it. Like it's just, I think it's so obvious that they're better at it than everyone else. I don't think that I don't know. I think that would be unfair to Philly, to be honest. I would be ticked off if I were the Eagles and this play got banned. So it was Diana Rossini, who's a very reputable source that reported this. And I don't know, I'm just skimming this, to be honest. This is the society we live in. We read headlines and maybe we skim. We don't consume news the way we used to, right? But look at that. The NFL called it the brotherly shove. I don't know, man. I don't know. I am against banning it, to be honest. Eagles are better at running it than everyone else. I don't think they should get punished because they're good at something. That's like saying back in 2018, we're going to ban the deep pass because Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill are too good at it. I don't know, but good question here from Caden. What's the fraud team that could make the biggest noise in the playoffs? Well, let's pull up the playoff race here, shall we? Who could be a spicy fraud? We always love a good little spicy fraud. Last year it was the Giants that made waves. They won the Fraud Bowl. That's what happened essentially. But I think it depends on who you define as a fraud. It's funny because I think people would probably say that the Browns are more fraudulent than the Texans, even though the Browns have a better record and probably have a better shot at making the playoffs. I think a lot of it just comes down to general vibes of the team, right? Quarterback play, how exciting their offense is. The Browns aren't a sexy team by any means. Whereas the Texans, and this is not Texans slander. I love the Texans. I've loved watching them play this year, but it's easier to get excited about them because they've got this young, fresh team with this superstar looking quarterback, right? I don't know. I almost feel like people take them more seriously than the Browns or Steelers. Maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they're even, but I don't know, man. Just looking around, I think if I hate to do this and I keep going back to this well. If you really want a fraud team or a team that could just shock everyone and maybe win a game or two in the playoffs, it's the Rams. I am not quitting this Rams train, and we'll talk more about the Rams when we get to their game against the Browns. I don't know, man. The Rams could find themselves back in the playoffs. And if they do, look out. I honestly think this team can hang with anyone. I could so see them pulling off an upset win round one. As long as this man stays healthy. He's playing some excellent football right now. So is he. Kyron Williams has been unbelievable. This running game has been incredible for the Rams. They can run the ball. They've got weapons on offense. And the defense is just so well coached. Raheem Morris has done just A-plus job working with what he's got. Sean McVay is there. I don't know. If you want a really spicy pick, and they have to get in. It's not a given that they get in, but I think I might say the Rams or the Steelers just because Mike Tomlin finds a way. He does as baseline level analysis as that might be. Mike Tomlin finds a way. Mile Marker says, semantics, LOL. I think of it as a scrum. Yeah, like a rugby scrum kind of, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't think Philly should be punished. But anyways, good questions. Keep them coming. I'm loving this discussion. We're going to dive in to Chargers, Patriots. And again, you want to talk about a game that has meaning? The Chargers quite literally need to win this game. If they lose this game, their season is probably over. They're on a slide right now. They've lost 3 in a row. Just a gut punch of a loss in prime time to the Ravens last week. A game where, as much as everyone wants to just burn Brandon Staley at the stake and just absolutely tear into him and Brandon Staley is the worst thing ever and how dare he do this and that and his defense. The defense played pretty well against the Ravens last week. The Chargers just couldn't find a way to get out of here with a win. I mean, they're a frustrating team. I do not envy Chargers fans one bit. It has got to be such a frustrating experience to root for the Chargers. They have just been so inconsistent. They have not really played a complete game this year. The defense has been inconsistent, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, the defense is good, actually. I think it's better than a lot of people give it credit for, and I think Brandon Staley is better than a lot of people give him credit for. I don't think it's just as simple as Brandon Staley is the worst head coach ever and their defense is blah, blah, blah. Like, their offense has been inconsistent too, right? And sometimes it's, like in the case of the Packers game, it's receivers just dropping passes that hit them square in the hands. I mean, sometimes they just haven't been able to get the running game going. Sometimes. I mean, the running game has really been brutal ever since week 1. Sometimes the line lets up too much pressure. Sometimes it is Herbert. Like, I don't know. Herbert hasn't been perfect. He's been very good this year. And sometimes it is the defense. Like, the Lions game. I mean, come on. The Chargers scored on almost every drive in this game, and they lost. Like, that is on the defense. You know, they just got eviscerated. But they have not really played a complete game on both sides of the ball really this whole season, and that's kind of been their undoing. They've had good games on defense, and they've had good games on offense. It just hasn't really happened at the same time. And looking ahead at their schedule, they've got the Patriots, Broncos, Raiders, Bills, Broncos, Chiefs. I mean, there are definitely some winnable games on here, but they have to make their layups. They have to. Like, they have to almost win out if they want to sneak into the playoffs. They can maybe afford one loss. And they've got the Broncos twice, the Bills, and the Chiefs. Odds are they probably drop one or two of those. But how will they fare against the Patriots, who are just lost at sea right now? Truly, the worst that I've probably ever seen the Patriots in my lifetime. I mean, I started watching football in 2009, 2010. Even the Cam Newton year, they still won like 7 games, like as ugly as they were on offense that year, and it was a weird year with COVID, and they had a bunch of guys opt out of the season. They still at least won 7 games, and they were like competitive in a lot of them. Now they're just bad. I mean, they're just bad and boring. I mean, look at this. I mean, come on. They beat the Zach Wilson Jets, and then they somehow got a win against the Bills. Mac Jones might be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Well, no, he's not, because this team exists, but he's been bad. Also, going to interrupt my train of thought just seeing this. Pear Champ is in here saying, "Hey, doctor, welcome to the stream, Pear Champ. Good to have you back. Got a great Sunday of football coming up, don't we? And you know what? I'm sure you're waiting all day for Sunday night. Good game. Good game Sunday night. But the Patriots past 2 games have scored 6 and 7, and they've lost to Gardner Minshew and Tommy DeVito. It's bad. You know, their defense hasn't been terrible, and it's such a shame that they've been hit with injuries the way they have. Matthew Judon, Christian Gonzalez going down. But I start to wonder if maybe this is Bill Belichick's final season with the Patriots, with just how poorly things have gone. You do really have to, like, put some of it on him, right? I still think, like, Bill Belichick is a defensive wizard, mastermind. Like, just straight up as a defensive coach, yeah, he's great. He was one of the guys that, like, really started this trend of just, like, having safeties all over. You see it now with, like, the Vikings doing it. And there's a few other teams. I'm like totally drawing a blank now, but you know what I mean, like where you just have a bunch of safeties. The Ravens, you know, just like a bunch of like versatile athletic players throughout your defense. A lot of simulated pressure. You can drop back 8 or you can bring the house. That was kind of him that started it. And you know, it's worth noting, like, Brian Flores is a Bill Belichick tree coach. And the defense hasn't even been that bad, even with those injuries. However, as a GM, as a coach, as someone that, like, a guy that, like, hires his assistants, Bill really has not been it for the past few years now. I mean, I kind of gave the Patriots a mulligan for last year and was like, oh, they're going to be better this year on offense because you have to be better than with Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator. But that was Bill's decision to put Patricia there in the first place. You just can't do that. You can't get away with doing stuff like that. You can't just keep hiring your buddies and then them not working out. So I think he does deserve a decent amount of blame for the state of the Patriots. And as a GM, he's just continuously whiffed on putting weapons on this team. Also, I don't know if you can hear that car revving its engine outside my apartment right now. Very, very frustrating. I've been awoken by cars revving their engines at 7 in the morning sometimes. But anyways, you got to put some of that on Bill. Like, Bill has kind of fumbled a little bit recently, just as a drafter, as a GM in general, and as someone that's promoted their assistants. So I don't know. He would never do this, obviously, but I almost wonder if, like, maybe at this point in his career, he would just be best served as a defensive coordinator. I wouldn't blame him, though, for not wanting to do that. But anyways, that's enough chit-chat about the lead-up into this game. How's this game going to play out? I'm going to be honest. I think this is going to be a fairly close game. I think a lot of it is going to hinge on the health of this man right here, Keenan Allen, who's listed as questionable. Because goodness gracious, if Keenan Allen doesn't play, let's just take a look at what the Chargers receiving core would be. Quentin Johnston, Jalen Guyton, Alex Erickson, and Simi Fehoko. I apologize if I mispronounced his name. And Darius Davis. Yeah, that's terrible. That is just terrible. The running game has been bad. The offensive line has been inconsistent. I think if Keenan Allen doesn't play, that this is going to be a really low-scoring game. And even with Keenan, this might be a fairly low-scoring game. Because there's one thing that Bill Belichick can still do at least decently well, and that's take away the number one wide receiver. I am going to go with the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chargers in a close one. I'm going to say Chargers 20, Patriots 14. I just do not trust this Patriots offense to be a serious threat. I think we might see another decent performance from the Chargers defense. Some of that can just be attributed to the Patriots being bad, but the Chargers will find a way. Herbert will find a way with this depleted receiver core, and they'll escape with the victory, and they'll keep their season, which is on life support. They'll keep it alive with a gross but gritty and necessary win in Foxborough against the Patriots. We'll check chat here now. We've got JTWK in here. Welcome to the stream, saying Cam looked great against my Hawks that year. Yeah, that was a great game. Very underrated Sunday Night Football game. I know exactly which one you're talking about. I believe the final score is 35-30 Seahawks, right? They tried to get the game-winning touchdown with Cam at the very end. They tried to do QB power him in last play of the game, and they stopped him. Cam Newton, I'm a Vikings fan. Cam Newton, all-time favorite non-Viking. Love Cam, and I was so sad when they lost that game, but that was the beginning of the end for my king, my Heisman, my MVP. Oh. But yeah, good call there. That was a fun game. A little COVID throwback right there. Parachamp saying, do you think the Bills somehow make the playoffs, or is it over this year? I'm not giving up hope just yet, to be honest. They're on a bye this week, so we'll talk about the Bills for a little bit. Oh, all right. We can have a conversation now that I kind of alluded to on my Monday stream. We need to have a conversation about icing the kicker and why I just think that it's outdated, it doesn't work, and it hurt the Bills. Man, I will say this. With how they've looked the past few weeks, right, the offense looks a little bit better. Maybe some of that is attributed to their different offensive coordinator. Schematically, they don't seem to be doing too much differently. But Josh Allen has just been locked in. He had probably his best game of the season against the Eagles. Just a crushing loss, though. I mean, they really should have won this game. They were the better team in this game. And, I mean, we all watched the game, right? Late in the game, Jake Elliott lining up for a 59-yard field goal in the rain, outdoors, terrible conditions. Bills have 2 timeouts, and they burn one of them to ice the kicker. And I remember watching that game. It's like, why would you do that? You are going to get the ball back. You will want that timeout, right? Icing the kicker, statistically speaking, let's just look it up. I believe it doesn't really have a correlation. I don't know. Regardless, I mean, we'll see what this says. Okay, well, I don't agree with the numbers, so this doesn't help me. Whatever. Okay, there's a little bit of a difference. It shows that there's a bigger difference from longer kicks. I wonder what the rationale for that is. So maybe statistically speaking, there's a slight advantage for icing the kicker. I might have to look into this more. But regardless, for a 59-yard kick in the rain, like, how much harder are you actually going to make it with that one timeout? You would rather keep 2 timeouts when you get the ball back, right? And I hate to open this wound if there's any Bills fans in here, but you, the Bills, of all people, should know that 20 seconds is more than enough to get a field goal, especially with how Josh Allen is playing. And they burn the timeout. The Eagles make the kick, and then the Bills just kneel the ball. They don't even try. I mean, realistically, they need just like a few plays to get in field goal range. Tyler Bass, their kicker, is pretty good in his own right. You've got Josh Allen, who's just been playing a super soldier type game. Goes into OT, and they probably still should have won anyways. They win the toss. They go down the field. Allen misses Gabe Davis. Well, I say Allen misses Gabe Davis. It was a miscommunication. It was a little option route. They just weren't on the same page. Honestly, I kind of stand with Allen on that one. I think if Davis ran the other route, it would have been an easy touchdown, walk-in. Just miscommunication. And then the Eagles go back and score. And the Bills just get victory snatched from them. But I'm not giving up on them. I mean, for how well they've played, they are 6-6. They will need to go on a bit of a run here, and they too have some tough games. They will probably need to beat one of these two teams. I think they have it in them, though. Weirdly, I feel like they could beat the Chiefs. I don't know. I'm not giving up on them yet, though. That's a good question, though. Mile Marker says, what I like about Belichick is that he's a scholar of the game. I think he could move into that after coaching. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so funny, right? The narrative around Bill Belichick is like, he's this guy that just grumbles, and he's not going to give much. And when he talks to the media, he's just, nah. But when you really, tickle his brain and you really engage him, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but during the preseason, someone asked Bill Belichick, I think it was about long snappers, right? Because I think that the Patriots were, using just one of their regular linemen as a long snapper, and someone asked him, well, so why don't more teams do that? You could save a roster spot. And I kid you not, he literally gave a 10-minute answer just explaining the history of the long snapper position and why there are people that specialize in long snapping. If you guys get the chance, you should go check it out. And you could tell he just got excited to talk about it, and about halfway through you could see him be like, this is a good stopping point. I could stop, but then he just doubled down and he kept going. I think if you got him in the right situation, with maybe the right people around him, I think you could have a fascinating podcast with Bill Belichick. Some of the stories that he could tell, just the insight that he could share. I don't know what that would look like exactly, but I don't think you'd ever see Bill Belichick on ESPN, on NFL Live, talking with Marcus Spears. But if you could get just this nice little independent, just Bill Belichick on the porch, sipping a beer, talking about special teams. I don't know. I think he might enjoy that. I think that'd be a good watch, good listen. And JTWK says, I see you have the Patriots scoring 7 safeties. Oh, absolutely. I think that's exactly how they get there. No, I just like being weird with my scores sometimes. I don't know. I just say numbers it's probably easier to just say oh, they get, I don't know. Well, actually, no, I said 14. I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry, the joke went over my head there for a sec. It's still early for me, but it's really not. It's 10:48. I've been awake for a while. Anyways, at this point, with how their offense has been, they might need 7 safeties to get 14 points. All right, Lions Saints. Let's do this. Mile Marker, this one's for you. Lions versus Saints. Pearchamp says, who do you got getting the number 1 seed for the playoffs? NFC will probably be the Eagles, and I'm thinking for the AFC, it will be the Jags. Oh, okay. Well, let's pull this. Let's pull the standings up here. Sorry, Mile Marker. Just wait one more second. We'll answer this question here. The Jags are right there, right? They're 1 game out, and they have probably, I'd have to look, but probably an easier schedule. The Eagles definitely have the inside track, especially if they win today, it's probably more or less over for the 1 seed if they beat the 49ers. However, we'll get to that game. But, yeah, the Eagles would probably be my pick. That's what the smart money would be on. For the AFC, I wouldn't count out the Chiefs either, to be honest. They might have turned a corner. I get it's the Raiders, but they've really only got like 2 hard games left. I see a world where the Chiefs win out here. I might go with the Chiefs. I might. I think we almost take I don't know. I could see the Jags, and we know how I feel about the Jags. Love the Jaguars. Big win against the Texans. They've got a tough game against the Ravens. The Browns won't be easy. That offensive line going up against the Browns D-line. Bengals, this game is significantly less exciting now with Burrow hurt. Bums me out. This would have been one of the games of the year in my opinion, but I could see the Jags. I might go the Chiefs, actually. I might. They have Patrick Mahomes and a good defense, so that's my reasoning. And their offense is maybe starting to turn a corner. But here we go. Lions, Saints. This one's for you, mile marker. The Lions. They got cursed by the moon. The waxing gibbous on Thanksgiving did them in again. They're now 0-13 on Thanksgiving when there's a waxing gibbous. I don't know if you guys saw that. There was a tweet. I don't know if it's Jay Cutta. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but you should go follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow. He's always got these niche, hilarious stats. And he pointed out that the Lions, going into that game, were 0-12 on Thanksgiving when the moon's phase was a waxing gibbous. And what do you know? On Thanksgiving this year, the moon was in a waxing gibbous, and they lost again. And this secondary is really starting to become a problem for the Lions. Like, this defense has just quickly shifted, right, the narrative around this defense. Going into the year, they put together a few nice wins, right? They hold the Chiefs to 20. They stymie the Falcons, and you think, hey, maybe this defense has like turned a corner and they've gotten really good. I don't know. Every time they've gone up against like a good passing offense, they've kind of gotten picked apart a little bit. The Seahawks had their way with them. The Ravens had their way with them. The Chargers had their way with them. And now even the Packers have had their way with them. And, I mean, even like I talked about this way back when I picked the Buccaneers to upset them, you know, and then watching this game back, like the Buccaneers receivers were winning downfield on their routes. Baker just couldn't find them, or he missed some throws. So there have been cracks showing a little bit in this defense, and some of it is injury, like they're just really banged up. They're not at full strength. Hutchinson has been good, not like a superstar, but he's been good. I like Lee McNeil a lot. Like, this defense has good players, but it just hasn't quite taken that next step. And the offense is great when Jared Goff is protected and he's not pressured, but when you can get to him, it throws things off a little bit. And we kind of have seen that now. Goff has been turning the ball over a little bit. It just hasn't been as clean of an operation. And they lost to a Packers team who's quietly been playing some very good football recently. Now here they are going to the Superdome against the Saints, a team that is also fighting for their life. They just suffered a brutal loss last week against the Falcons, a season-changing loss in which the offense could kind of move the ball, but then they'd have a bad turnover or they'd just stall out. And their defense has really started to show some cracks, especially defending against the run. That has really been the staple of the Saints under Dennis Allen since he took over as defensive coordinator back in 2016, I think. Dennis Allen has been calling the defense in New Orleans for a while now. And one of their staples has always been they are good against the run. You cannot run on this team. They will shut you down. You have to beat them through the air. And for the most part, they've always been good against the pass too. Like, this has usually been a good defense. You can kind of run on them now. They have struggled to defend the run really over like this past month or so. The Falcons, which we'll talk about them when we get to their game, but finally starting to see some action in the run game here, right? The Vikings ran the ball well against the Saints, and by golly, I would know that's not a good thing if the Vikings are running the ball well against you. The Bears, the Colts, I mean, they've given up a lot of rushing yards over this period. So looking at this game, I like this game as a good bounce-back, get-right game for the Lions right here. They're going up against a clearly inferior opponent whose one of their biggest weaknesses is a strength of the Lions, right? This team that likes to run the ball. They've got this great offensive line, two great backs. I could see a big game from either Montgomery, Gibbs, or both today here. I think they will lean on the running game a lot. I could see the Lions as a team rushing for 200 yards. And I don't think that the Saints have nearly enough juice in the passing game to actually seriously test this Lions defense. Their wide receivers are good, but Derek Carr has just not been it at quarterback. He's not the only problem, but he certainly hasn't been an answer. I like the Lions to win comfortably here. I think the Lions will get back to the lines that we've seen throughout this season. Give me the Lions 31, Saints 17 right here. Big game on the ground. Maybe Goff hits a few big plays through the air. But some sighs of relief will be breathed in Detroit here today. Lions bounce back. Big game on the ground. Much needed win, and they just get one step closer to locking up the division. Cheese Moon. Parachamp says, great statistic. Cheese Moon, please tell me that's a Wallace and Gromit reference. Please. If it is, I salute you. I love Wallace and Gromit. Was A Grand Day Out? Was that the name where they go to the moon and it's made of cheese and they bring crackers? If you know, man. I used to watch that on VHS all the time as a kid. Mile Marker says, last year we lost terribly after the bye, then went on to win all but one. I'm hoping that happens this year. Else soul equals soul. And Parachamp says, Falcons are going to win the NFC South, even though every team in their division has fired their head coach. Let's talk about the Falcons. They're right up next. Let's do it. I think I agree with you there. I think I agree with you. All right, sweet. All right, perfect. We're on the same page there. All right. Good to know that we have another Wallace and Gromit appreciator in here. Let's go. Oh, man, I've not watched that in a minute. How about Curse of the Were-Rabbit? That's a good movie. I remember watching that in theaters as a kid. All right, Falcons, Jets. Ooh, you want to talk about one of the most unserious teams in the league right now. That would be the New York Jets, my friends. Oh, my goodness. It is, unfortunately, a clown show of an operation here right now. After they put together this little 3-game winning streak, they just kept finding ways to, win these games. And it's like, hey, the Jets are treading water. Aaron Rodgers might make this miraculous comeback where he ascends down from his rehab on his torn Achilles, and he really sticks it to the man, and he goes out there, and he comes back on Christmas Eve, and it's just a storybook finish, and he takes him into the playoffs. Well, unfortunately for any Jets fans that might be rooting for that, I don't know that the team is good enough for them to be relevant by the time Christmas Eve comes and they're fighting for their lives. They are 4-7 right now. Again, in a good AFC, they might have to win out. They've got the Falcons, Texans, and Dolphins before Christmas Eve. I would be shocked if they go 3-0 in this stretch. Absolutely shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if they went 0-3 in this stretch. I just, as much as people like to dunk on Aaron Rodgers, and maybe he is doing this for attention or for other reasons, and maybe he's got his own motives for trying to come back so quick, right? And I respect it. Maybe the man just wants to play, right? That is another thing that maybe people don't account for. Maybe the professional football player just wants to play football. Regardless, maybe Rodgers is being a loon. It is impressive that he's even practicing right now. I mean, it is, and we've seen modern medicine advance so much. We've seen Cam Akers come back from an Achilles 5 months later to play in the Super Bowl. This is starting to become a thing. Now, it's unprecedented for him to tear his Achilles week 1 and be practicing now in December. However, as impressive as it is, this kind of just shows who's calling the shots right now for the Jets, right? The fact that Rodgers is doing this, and it's easy, as I always like to say, it's easy for me to say from my apartment. If I'm the head coach, though, I'm absolutely not letting him see the field. Why would you risk that? You've still got next year, man. It's over. We had a good run for 4 plays. Let's just take our L. What are we doing? Don't play. If he gets hurt again, that's just terrible. The Jets' window is this year and next year. Their window is still open next year. They need to essentially go all in now for next year, but it is still there. Don't risk it for this most likely meaningless Christmas Eve game. That's just my opinion. If he wants to play, I don't think they're going to stop him, but I don't think it's wise. And then they'll play the Browns on short rest with their great defensive line. I mean, why would you put yourself out there? I don't know. That's just me. We've got Christine in here. Welcome to the stream, Christine. Good to have you back in here saying Falcons. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the Falcons, who, again, are right there. You want to talk about one of the new window. You want to talk about one of the biggest wins. And I told you, I know you're starting to really become a Falcons fan, because you are like pessimistic when the Falcons are leading or when something good is happening. You're like, we're going to find a way to screw it up. You are officially like a real Falcons fan now. It's not fun. I'm not envious one bit, I'm sort of in solidarity as a Vikings fan, but you have really earned your stripes. You've seen the Falcons let you down numerous times now. But you know what? They didn't let you down last week. How about a big win for the Falcons against the Saints? Coming off the bye, everyone's calling for Arthur Smith's head. Is Arthur Smith the worst thing to happen to football since concussions? Like stuff like that. And you know what the Falcons do? They finally come out and play the way that they were built to play. They run the rock. They ran the rock down the Saints' throats. And you know what? They got Bijan Robinson the football. And good things happened. 2 tutties for Bijan. A rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, right? Almost 6 yards per carry. Algier over 6 yards per carry. Cordell Patterson getting some carries in there. They ran for 228 yards. They tore him up on the ground. This is like Arthur Smith's dream game right here. All that's missing was like a Jonnu Smith screen touchdown. You got to hand it to Arthur Smith. This was the vision for the Falcons, and feels like the first time all season the vision came to fruition. They got a big win against the Saints, who are probably the biggest threat to take the division, right? They'll play them again, the final game of the regular season. Woo-hoo, might be a play-in game to see who goes to the playoff, but to have that win, you get another divisional win under your belt too. They are in the driver's seat, and here they are going up against the Jets, who are just in disarray. I mean, I woke up this morning, I looked over the games, I was like, who am I going to pick? Part of me wanted to pick the Jets because I still believe in this defense, right? What's the over-under for this game? It's 30. Is it 35 and a half? So that would be, you can do the math. Not a lot of teams, or not a lot of points. And I could see the under hitting in this game. I just can't pick the Jets, though, as much as I want to. I'll say this. Desmond Ridder had a few nice plays last week against the Saints. That throw to Bijan was nice. That was a good throw by Desmond Ridder. Under siege, under pressure, puts it exactly where the ball needed to be, hit Bijan in stride for a touchdown. But he still had a few puzzling moments in that game. But it was better. I mean, he made plays with his legs. I think at this point, Ridder has, all right, like just roll with Ridder. You've gone back and forth with him and Heineke. At this point, just roll with Ridder. The offense suits him better anyways. He adds that running element. You probably have a better shot at making the playoffs with Ridder than Heineke. And part of me just wants to say maybe the Jets pick him off 3 times and they get short field and they can like win. I just can't pick the Jets right now. I truly can't. I mean, here's a fact. The New York Jets, how many offensive touchdowns do you think the New York Jets have scored since their historic win against the Eagles, their first win ever against the Eagles, which would have come, I believe it was October 15th, right? So since this game, in this stretch right here, how many touchdowns on offense have the Jets scored? The answer is 2. Breece Hall took a little dump pass 50 yards against the Giants for a touchdown, and then Garrett Wilson scored a touchdown, a 1-yard touchdown in garbage time against the Dolphins last week. That's it. Those are their only touchdowns on offense in this massive stretch right here since before Halloween. I can't pick this team right now. I can't. Falcons win 20-7. They get out of there with a big win. Pearchamp says, NFC South is a dumpster fire, but someone got to be the king of trash. And you know what the king of trash's reward is? A home playoff game. We will probably see this team get a home playoff game against probably the Cowboys. Oh, boy. Anyways. Christine says, how dare you take me to my first NFL game just for them to lose? Hey, we saw Joshua Dobbs masterclass. That's out of my control, right? I don't know. Y'all lost to our JV team that game. I can't talk, though. The Vikings have been playing like a JV team these past few weeks. But, hey, as unfortunate as it is, probably a fair introduction to Falcons football. Welcome to the ride. It's tough out here. All right, let's dive into a little fun Super Bowl rematch. First, I'm going to get a swig of water. I'll check chat, too. We got Pear Champ with another little comment here. Says, the Jets got another touchdown, but they went the wrong direction with a Dolphins player. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just been, I don't know what else to say, man, about the New York Jets. It's been a soap opera of a season for them. But let's go to Cardinals-Steelers. Jack, if you're still in here, your man Kenny Pickett. All he does is win. He's got a chance for another big win here. The Steelers are inching closer and closer towards the playoffs. And as I said on Monday, the bad man is gone. Matt Canada is out of there. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, for the first time since the depths of COVID, gained 400 yards on offense. They did it. Pickett played serviceably. He was pretty good. And the running game has continued to be there for Pittsburgh. And this has been a nice little development. This duo of Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren as more of a 1A, 1B option. Splitting the workload, a true committee. Nice little 1-2 punch. This does it for me. I like this duo right here. I like how they're able to run the ball with these two. Najee is still a solid runner, right? He definitely doesn't have the explosiveness, but that's where Jaylen Warren comes in. They both can offer a little bit as receivers. Pittsburgh's offensive line has been improved, really. I like what I've seen from their line play, and they still have those playmakers at receiver. Pat Freiermuth stepped up. They've still got Pickens, Deontay Johnson. Like, there is talent on this offense, and you know, they still scored only 16 points, and I'm not saying that they're all of a sudden going to turn into the 2018 Rams, but this works. This is a serious team, at least in the way of, like, they probably will have earned a playoff berth. I'm not even saying they're going to win a playoff game, but they are probably one of the 7 best teams in the AFC, I would say. And again, I mean, this defense is just, whoo, baby. TJ Watt doing it again. Cam Hayward. You want to talk about maybe a Hall of Famer? Still doing it. He's been doing it for a long time. I don't know what else to say, man. This team is well coached. They've got talent, and they've been winning games as a result. Big win against the Bengals. They got the Cardinals and then the Patriots. Then they got the Colts, which is a nice little spicy game. This is maybe a huge game in the wild card race. Then the Bengals again, Seahawks, Ravens. So a tough end to the season. Colts, Seahawks, and Ravens all might be tough games. You gotta make your layups. Here's another layup right here, maybe. The Cardinals, who have really started to just see the other shoe drop now. I got really excited about the Cardinals early in the year, and I wasn't even saying they're going to be a good team, but like they were playing feisty. They were competitive, and they were in most of their games. Even like this 49ers game, they were in it for the most part. Yeah, now they're starting to look like the team that we thought they were going to be. I mean, even with Kyler back, I thought, okay, Kyler comes back, that makes them watchable, and then they win their first game with the Falcons. Close loss to the Texans, but they just got eviscerated by the Rams last week. And even with Kyler out there, there's just not enough talent on this team. And they've got a vision, maybe, with all this draft capital that they have. They are going to be an intriguing team to watch grow and develop over these next few years. They've got some pieces. I think they've got a quarterback. They have some interesting pieces on offense. Marquise Brown, Rondo Moore, Trey McBride. They've gotten good play from their offensive line. The defense has been pretty bad. That's probably where they need to invest most of their capital into. But they're not like a lost cause. There is at least a vision and like a concrete plan with this Cardinals team. Going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, though, and Pearchamp, you say Kenny Pickett doesn't win, Tomlin wins. I mean, objectively, yes, right? But, man, I just love saying Kenny Pickett, all he does is win. He's got the it factor, right? The dude from Pitt playing for the Steelers now, living out his dream. I mean, is it Tomlin? Yes, of course it is. But Kenny Pickett, all he does is win. I do like Kenny Pickett, though. He seems to be like an easy guy to root for. It's a fun little story. Is he good? No, but yeah. And I mean, I love Mike Tomlin, too. Former Viking Mike Tomlin. Kind of the one that got away. He was in our building. Great coach. Hall of Fame coach right there. And he's doing it again, man. He's doing it again, as he always does. For this game, though, I'm going to take the Steelers. We'll go Pittsburgh 23, Arizona 16. I don't know. I mean, again, like, they might at least be somewhat watchable with Kyler. Kyler looks pretty good. And he can only do so much on this team. You know, it's not like he's got the Avengers around him or anything. The mobility has been there, though. Like, he looks fresh. He looks explosive. So that's a good sign. These games are interesting for the Cardinals. This is like Kyler kind of playing for his job, maybe. Fair or not. But give me the Steelers, man. They are the better team. They're at home. 6.5-point favorites. That's a lot. But give me Pittsburgh. Move to 8-4. All right. Next game. Dolphins Commanders. I feel so bad. I think it was JTWK that brought this up. No, it wasn't. It was Ishan. Okay. Ishan, if you're still in here, welcome to the stream. I don't remember if this is your first. Maybe you've been in here before. But here we go. Dolphins Commanders. I kind of touched on this earlier, right? Maybe feeling an upset here. At least that's what some people in chat are thinking. Commanders are at home. Dolphins 8.5-point favorites. The Commanders are coming off just getting trounced. I think that's the word, right? Is it trounced? Against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Oh, man. They just got straight up outplayed, man. I mean, you lose by 35. What else is there to really say? Sam Howell looked he's fun. I like Sam Howell a decent amount, right? He rips the rock. He lets it fly. He plays like the good version of Baker. But he takes sacks. He turns the ball over. I mean, it is a part of his game, at least for now. He is punched well above his weight, though. For a fifth-round pick, Sam Howell has already been absolutely worth it. The return on investment has already hit. It was a great pick for the Commanders, right? It was a steal, to be honest, to get a starting quality quarterback in the fifth round. But, I mean, they can only do so much. Dallas just took it to them, and the Commanders recently, I mean, they are on a bit of a skid. They've lost their last 3, and they've lost 5 out of their last 6. Their only win was a 3-point squeaker against the Patriots. So this team has had some excitement around them. They started 2-0 too, which is kind of crazy, but they've come back to earth some. They make some games interesting. They do, and they're a decently fun watch. They also stripped down their defense a little bit more, which maybe in hindsight now maybe was the right move to like get some return on investment for those pass rushers, but really, the big concern for this Commanders team is their secondary. And they're going up against the Dolphins, who, interestingly enough, I feel like have not been quite as explosive on offense recently. Their defense has kind of stepped up. And again, as I talked about on top of the show, it is just such a bummer that Jalen Phillips got hurt because he was hurt a little bit earlier in the year too, but he's just been playing such great football when he's been out there. He was my defensive player of the year dark horse. I think I would have if he would have gotten like a full season, if I was an all-pro voter, I would have maybe voted him all-pro. I mean, he was seriously that good. Just such a disruptive force. Perfect fit in this Vic Fangio style defense, which we heard all season, right? Especially when the Dolphins kind of struggled on defense early. It's like, oh, just give them time. Takes a while to adjust to that style of defense, right? Jalen Ramsey's going to come back. They're going to be better. And once we started to hit this point, I started to get a little skeptical. I was like, I mean, we keep hearing that, but like it needs to actually happen. It has happened. Jalen Ramsey has come back, and he's been a godsend for them. He's like the queen on the chessboard. He is what makes this defense go. He's been great. The defense has been great. They've got great young players. Javon Holland, a player I really like. Christian Wilkins, and Ramsey. And we've seen the defense play really well, really since like the Chiefs game. The offense hasn't always been there. That 34 points, kind of misleading against the Jets. They get 7 of them off of a pick 6. just not as many. Like, there has not just been like a wow game from this Dolphins offense in a while. They've had good games, right? And they've had games like where Tua's played well. Like, I thought Tua played pretty well against the Eagles, for example, But, I mean, it's not where it was early on in the year where they're hanging 70 on the Broncos or 42 on the Panthers, right? Tyreek Hill's still doing his thing. The biggest thing that has really plagued the Dolphins is they have struggled in short yardage situations. 3rd and 4th down, they're almost like the opposite of the Eagles, where it just feels like a toss-up. And it's because they just don't run between the tackles. They don't run inside very well. Their whole running game is predicated on getting to the edge. And you have these speedsters in the backfield. It makes sense. And especially with maybe a weaker offensive line, you need to kind of scheme around that. So if you can get to the outside, get those speedsters in space, you don't need every single lineman just dominating their man, right? Just open one hole, give them one crack of space. Yeah, their running game is built around explosive plays running to the outside. But when that doesn't always hit, they just can't always get those tough yards. And that's what's really hurt this team. However, I say that against this Commanders team, against this secondary that has struggled mightily this year, right? They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. Tua has been up and down a little bit. He has not quite been as fully locked in. But I think the Dolphins offense returns to its explosive form today. And this is a good bounce-back game for this Dolphins passing attack. And the Dolphins put up 40. 42 points for the Dolphins. That's my bold prediction for today. Give me Dolphins 42, Commanders 21. Miami with a huge win. And you want to talk about the 1 seed for the AFC? As crazy as it sounds, they're right there. They are. Not saying they're going to get it. Injuries have hurt them. I still don't fully trust this team, to be honest. I really want to. I love Mike McDaniel. I love the style of offense they run. Minus, of course, not being able to pick up those tough yards. Slight pet peeve of mine. But some of that is just the personnel that they have. They don't have a very strong offensive line. I don't know what you could, if you just try and do something with Alec Ingold, their fullback maybe, right? Anyways. I love this defense, even with the injuries. I want to believe in this team. I don't know if I believe in them as like a full-on Super Bowl contender, but they can take care of business against the Commanders here today. I think we're going to see some fireworks. I don't know, man. Tua 350 passing yards. Dolphins 42 points. They're going to double up the Commanders 42-21. I think they bounce back on offense today. They're due. I feel like they're due for a big game. And against this Commanders secondary that's just been picked apart by almost everyone that's worth a darn, it's going to happen. Pearchamp says, unrelated note, have you heard of the video game called Lethal Company? Fun game where you explore moons to collect scraps while trying not to die from monsters. Would recommend it if that interests you. I have not. Let me look that up right now. Was it Lethal Company? I have been looking for a new game. Oh, okay. I feel like I've seen this before. Is this that one, is it made by that one company? I forget their name, but they've made a lot of games. Thanks for the rec. I'll have to look into this. I am looking for a new game to play. Not to sound like a 12-year-old, but I'm not going to lie, man. When Fortnite OG came back, the original map, yeah, me and my friends were playing that. I have no shame. I know that game is like overrun by like middle schoolers now. We were taking it to the middle schoolers. We were showing them that this game is our part of Gen Z, right? The pre-COVID Zoomers. That's our game. Take that, 12-year-old Tommy. This 23-year-old nearly graduated college student's going to show you the ropes. But that actually ended yesterday, I think. The original map is no longer there. So the game is back to the unrecognizable thing that it once was. But it was like the Ratatouille meme for that 1 month, man. Me and the squad, me, Caden, Jack, and Parker, right? All friends of the channel and my dogs for life. It was like the Ratatouille meme where like the food critic like eats the food he's taken back to his childhood. That was pretty fun. I got to tip my cap to Epic for that. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's over now. So I could use a new game. So thank you for the rec. Let's dive into Broncos-Texans. You want to talk about a new game? How about a game right here? Broncos and Texans. And also, Pearchamp says, this was made by one person, I believe. Recommend playing with friends up to 4, but you can mod it to have more. Well, there you go. Look at that. All right, nice little game to play with friends. All right, I'll have to hit up the group chat and see if people are interested in that or not. All right, Broncos-Texans. Let's do this. This game, I believe this game was actually flexed out of the 4 o'clock window, which kind of caused some people to scratch their heads. They're like, why would you flex it out of a more desirable window? Because this is a really good game now. But I think the rationale is that the Fox executives had the black SUVs pull up, and they're like, you know what? We've got San Francisco, Philadelphia. We need all the attention on this game. And so they made the call, and they're like, Roger, you got to do something about this, right? CBS can't have a good game in our window. This is supposed to be our window. It is fascinating, this little media analysis right there. But that's my theory as to why this game got flexed out, because Fox wants and probably the NFL too, just in general, wants all eyes on San Francisco and Philadelphia, which I can't fully blame them for. But here we go. Good game. Broncos-Texans. Who would have thunk it, right? I mean, the Broncos, they started out the season. The Dolphins hung up 70 on them. They made themselves an easy target after what Sean Payton said in the offseason about what Nathaniel Hackett did. Russell Wilson was just so easy to dunk on after last year, right? It's like, who let this man cook? And, oh, he spilt the chili like Kevin or something. I don't know. And yet, here they are, the hottest team in football now. And they've beat some pretty good teams along the way. The Packers, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Vikings, and the Browns. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to pat myself on the back here a little bit. Now, I didn't have the Broncos in the playoffs. But the Broncos were one of my sneaky teams where it's like, this team could really bounce back and surprise some people with how well they played. And after this stretch, I was like, oh, it's wrong. I revisited my preseason predictions. I had Sean Payton as a dark horse coach of the year candidate, and I had this team finishing second in the division. And if you go back and you watch my season preview live stream where I pick every game, my spiel about the Broncos was the defense is still pretty good, and I thought that they were going to be able to run the ball really well. That's an underrated aspect of this Sean Payton offense. People like to gravitate towards the quarterback, the passing game, because for so many years they did it so well with Drew Brees. People kind of forget how good Sean Payton is at scheming up running games, too. They invested a lot into their offensive line. I really like Javonte Williams. They also brought in Samaje Perine and Jaleel McLaughlin, an interesting piece. And I tell you what, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I saw the vision because that's how they've been winning these games. And Russell Wilson has been playing well, too. And I think maybe we owe Russ an apology. I don't always like to psychoanalyze these players because obviously I don't know them. I'm not in their shoes. But I honestly think that last season, the season before, was a good thing for Russell Wilson. I don't know. It kind of changed him a little bit. He seems to carry himself a little bit differently this year, and he's been locked in. This isn't like the prime Russell Wilson of old, right? Let's not kid ourselves. Russell Wilson is still not like a superstar. He is pretty limited in what Sean Payton lets him do in this offense. They're not throwing the ball down the field too much. He's been like a good game manager, but he's doing his job pretty darn well right now. Russell Wilson, make no mistake, he's still playing some good football. He deserves a lot of credit for bouncing back the way he has. I don't know, man. You got to give him credit, and you almost wonder, maybe he should get comeback player of the year. Damar Hamlin could get it, and I wouldn't complain because, Damar Hamlin came back from, pretty much a near-death experience. He quite literally, died and, came back and, maybe he's barely played, but he's back in the league, and that's incredible. And I wouldn't be upset if Damar Hamlin got it. But I honestly think outside of Hamlin, you really got to give it to Russell Wilson. He just looked brutal last year. He looked over. I mean, people were saying they're looking to move on from him as soon as they can. And the contract is still not great, obviously. But the Broncos are 6-5, right in the playoff race, and he's shown at least flashes of his old self. He's still made some good plays. He's been great in the red zone, right? He's shown a little bit of playmaking. He's shown a little bit with his legs. He had a rushing touchdown last week, right? So that's been there. But this running game has been kicking some butt recently. I want you guys, if you're not familiar, familiarize yourself with this Broncos offensive line. Quietly one of the best units in the NFL. I think at some point I'm going to make my Dr. Pigskin All-Star team. Now that the Pro Bowl ballot is out there, I might do a stream for that where I'm going to pull up the Pro Bowl ballot and I'm going to vote how I would actually vote, like who I think have been like the best players this year. I tell you what, as a little teaser, I think Quinn Miners is someone that should make the Pro Bowl. I don't know that he will, but this Broncos offensive line has been sick this year, and the running game is really starting to come along. The defense has been a lot better. Give credit to Vance Joseph, their defensive coordinator, too, for turning it around from just the utter embarrassment of letting up 70 to how they're playing now. Oh, yeah, he deserves major kudos for that. And now they're going up against the Texans in Houston. The Texans, one of the most exciting teams in the league this year. Like, they're not just a pleasant surprise. Like, no disrespect to the Colts, right? I think there's just like a difference in how people perceive the Texans and the Colts. Both have the same record, both in the same division. The Colts actually beat the Texans earlier this year, but there's just a lot more excitement around the Texans right now, and I get it, right? The quarterback is playing great. Tank Dell has just been Steve Smith reloaded. I mean, the defense has been fun at times. D'Amico Ryans is a fun, exciting young coach that's really established a winning culture quickly here. Bobby Slowick has been this great offensive coordinator coming over from the Shanahan tree. So I understand why there's so much excitement. Houston is one of the most exciting teams in the league. They lost a heartbreaker to the Jaguars, a game that they probably could have won. I think that Jacksonville was slightly better in that game. You know, and there was some chatter about penalties. There was a lot of calls, right? But I think the refs were honestly just bad both ways because Trevor Lawrence's interception should have probably been like a defensive holding or pass interference. Houston got away with that. There are a few maybe tic-tac calls going against the Texans. The one that's the most unfortunate was that Tank Dell 65-yard catch getting taken away, right? Illegal motion. And a lot of people saw it and thought, hey, well, they're just doing the Dolphins thing, right? Where they send him in motion at the snap, right? The problem was they had two guys going in motion at the same time. You can't do that. You can only have one guy going in motion at once. And it's the right call. And it's unfortunate, right, to have such a sick play taken away by something minor like that. But that was the call. It's just unfortunate. I mean, it was just a rocket from C.J. Stroud. Tank Dell, all like 5'8" of them going up and getting that ball. There's a lot to be excited about with the Texans. Man, I honestly, this is the game that I've struggled to pick the most. I genuinely don't know, man. Houston is a 3-point favorite at home, which usually means that it's about even, right? Oh, I genuinely don't know still who to pick in this game. I think it's about a coin flip. Give me the Texans. They do have the advantage at quarterback. I don't feel good about that, though. I'm switching my pick to the Broncos. Give me Denver. I think this could be a lower scoring game. I really trust Denver's defense right now, maybe a little bit more than Houston's. That has been one thing with the Texans. Their defense has definitely been improved, and D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach. And, you know, I liked what I've seen from Will Anderson. Maybe not like eye-popping numbers, but he looks fundamentally sound. He's getting good pressure. I don't know why it opens up this. Anyways. But they have let up some big plays through the air. They did kind of get picked apart by the Jaguars, and that 24 points is a little misleading. Jacksonville could have gotten more. They hit that big play to Christian Kirk right before halftime, and they just couldn't punch it in for one last play. I mean, they were moving the ball pretty well through the air. Same with the Bengals game, the Bucs game. They have quietly let up some big plays. Houston's running game hasn't been consistent. I'm going with the Broncos. Give me Denver 24, Houston 21. Good one, though. Give me the Broncos. One step closer to the playoffs. I think they might make it. We'll see. But that is a good game, man. That might be the game of the 1 o'clock window. It probably is. We'll move it to the 4 o'clock window here after this nice question from Pear Champ saying, if you were to say who's the front runner for MVP, who you got? I am thinking Jalen Hurts, to be honest. Well, as my title of the stream kind of alluded to, I totally understand the rationale of Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are 10-1. Hurts has been playing well, you know. Like, he's certainly not been a problem. His stats are good, and he's made some, like, winning plays late in games. That touchdown to, was it Quez Watkins last week against the Bills? Whoo-hoo, baby. That was nice by Jalen Hurts, right? But I just don't... He has been good. This is not Jalen Hurts disrespect whatsoever. Is he really the most valuable player in the league, though? I don't know. I totally understand. Like, if you had to predict who would get it, right? And maybe that is what you're saying. If you had to predict who would get it, I honestly might say they would give it to Jalen Hurts, especially if they go out and win this game, if the Eagles get the best record. And it's a wide open MVP race right now, right? There's like not one singular dominant player that's like head and shoulders above everyone else. If I had a vote, I might honestly vote for Dak right now. I'm dead serious. He's been that good. And, you know, the Cowboys defense has been pretty good at times, but he's had to win them games. I mean, he won them that game on Thursday, right? And the Cowboys running game has been very, very up and down. I don't know. You could argue he's been the best quarterback this year. I'm not saying he is the best quarterback. Like, obviously, like, if I'm building a team, I'm taking, like, Mahomes and Allen and, you know, maybe a few other guys over Dak. Maybe not too many, though, but that's another conversation. But I don't know, man. He's got the stats. He's got the wins. He's passed the eye test. If Dallas can close out this season strong, because I think that is going to have to – he's going to have to maybe step it up a little bit more in the narrative department, as fair or not, right? And I get it. Like, the MVP is a media award. It's narrative-driven. That's just how it works, right? The Cowboys might have to get some big wins here. I don't know how much credit I don't know if he's going to get partial credit for almost beating the Eagles, you know? And that has kind of been a narrative around the Cowboys is, oh, they can't beat good teams. And maybe that loss to the 49ers in prime time for the whole world to see kind of sticks in some people's minds a little bit. But looking at the Cowboys' schedule, they do have a lot of tough games coming up, right? Again, I think we just talked about this. Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. If they can, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they can go 4-1 in this stretch, especially if they could, like, beat the Eagles, I think he checks all the boxes. I stand with Dak. I see Tyler in here. Jalen will show it today. I just hate Dak. Interesting. Why do you hate Dak Prescott? I'm curious. He seems like a stand-up guy. Like, he does a lot for mental health. He does a lot for the community. He loves being a Cowboy. I will always like Dak Prescott. I respect it, though. I mean, I like Jalen. If you want to talk about a stand-up guy, Jalen Hurts is a stand-up guy, too. Again, this is nothing against Jalen Hurts, but I don't know. I think Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in the NFC, and I think there are very few, if any, quarterbacks playing better than him this season. He's been locked in. Parachamp says Jalen Hurts and the Eagles could join the 15-1, 16-1 now with 18 weeks record, but they just might rest players. Yeah. I don't know. We'll get to the Eagles in a second here. I've got some stuff to say about the Eagles, but I would vote for Dak, but if I had to predict, I would say it's probably going to be Hurts. It could be Mahomes, too. I think we're almost like sleeping on Mahomes a little bit. Like, he's been just as good as them this year, too. This has probably been Mahomes' worst season, right? And some of that is just like the Chiefs receivers being terrible. But they still have like a top 5 offense in most metrics, and they still got the record. And if they start to turn the corner, like if the Chiefs get hot and win out, Mahomes just might get it again, too. But you have to worry about that voter fatigue. So we'll see. All right. Panthers, Bucks. We're now jumping into the 4 o'clock window. We've got a few games left here. Tyler says, I think Dak disappears in the playoffs. Fair. He's had a few games where things have not gone well. And now, you know, again, like, it can be easy. Like, you can, like, discredit this. Not every game in the playoffs. He had like an all-time great playoff game last season, just last season. And you can say, oh, it was against the Bucks who had a losing record. But most people, including me, actually picked the Bucks to win that game. Like, I feel like the narrative was like, oh, Brady's going to find a way. The Bucks have bbeen playing their best football. I mean, 305, 4 tutties, no picks. Now, he followed that up with a disappointing loss. And yeah, a lot of that was on him, right? And this was a frustrating loss. But, like, for the most part, I feel like he's been fine, right? But he has not always played his best. I don't know. I want him to get another shot at it this year, though. I had the Cowboys in the preseason, in the Super Bowl. I'm still not backing down from that. They can beat anyone. I truly believe it, man. I want them to get another crack at the Niners. I think it'll go much differently. Not saying they'll win, but they won't get the doors blown off them. And Pearchamp says the Cowboys just collapsed when playing the Niners in the playoffs. Trust me, I know as a Packers fan how it is. Yeah. I mean, it's true. Just do it. Oh, we'll see. I don't know why I like the Cowboys so much. I mean, they're a historic franchise, right? They just bleed football. So many great teams over the years, great coaches, great players. And they're just fun to watch. And as I always say, the NFL is just more fun when the Dallas Cowboys are good. The Cowboys, weirdly enough, are one of those teams I have a soft spot for. I always like the Cowboys. But, anyways, enough Cowboys talk. Let's talk about Panthers Buccaneers, which... Welcome to the NFC South, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like, well, here's something I was gonna say, the conversation really hasn't changed around the Panthers since like October. They do have a new head coach. The interim boost. Maybe they get the interim bump. Who knows? Here's what I'll say. The Panthers have the worst record in the NFL and they don't have their first round pick. It's a disaster. Things have gone poorly. I don't think Bryce Young has been bad, though. The more I've watched this Panthers team and watched Bryce Young, he has not been perfect by any means, and it certainly stings seeing C.J. Stroud play the way that he does. But, man, Bryce Young just truly has not had any help whatsoever, and he's doing his absolute best. I do think that if there can just be a little bit more help around Bryce Young, he is going to get better. Is going to get better than this. He is doing what he can right now. It is frustrating, though. I totally understand Panthers fans' frustrations. But I am not ready to call him a bust whatsoever. First of all, it's just so early in his career, right? Not even a full season under his belt. And just truly, offensive line, bad. Wide receivers, bad. Scheme, play calling has been bad. No running game. Defense has been a major disappointment. I'm going to be honest, this Titans game last week, that's like one, I could like not really tell you what happened in this game, to be honest. This game was kind of a blind spot for me. But the score checks out with how it's been. So Frank Reich is gone. They've got a new head coach out there. Maybe the interim gives them a little bump. I just think that this team is still just outclassed by the Buccaneers, though. Even though the Buccaneers are 4-7, they've also kind of had a weird year where like, they have not always played complete games, but they've got pieces and talent, you know. Frustrating loss to the Colts. They were kind of hanging around there, but the Colts kind of outplayed them a little bit. Baker's been fine. I feel like he's been like a low-end starter, but a starter. Kalijah Cansey's been playing pretty well. He just won an award. Is it Defensive Rookie of the Month, I think? Yeah, I mean, he's been good. The defense has been up and down, but they've got good players. And Mike Evans just continues to do his thing. He's going to have another 1,000-yard season. So I think Tampa will still win. They've just got more good players. That's really what it comes down to. I guess they're still fighting for their lives. They're not out of it. Again, I mean, looking at these standings, you know, they're one game behind. They'll need some tiebreakers, but yeah, it ain't. There ain't much to get excited about for this game, I guess. But the Buccaneers are still fighting for it. We'll go Tampa. Tampa 21, Carolina 13. Nice little 8-point win for the Bucs. Keep their season alive. Panthers, it just gets worse and worse. Maybe they won't get the interim boost. Pearchamp says, the Chiefs were originally from Dallas. That's right, but the merger made them move so the NFC could make their own team in Dallas. That is absolutely right. Back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, when teams would wear throwbacks, I believe the Chiefs had like a Texas-themed throwback where they had like the state of Texas on their helmet, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, fun little fact right there for those that might have not known. Tyler says 9-8 is crazy. I don't know. That might be in reference to my Panthers pick. Oh, I get reminded of that every week, my friend. That was a tough loss. That was the doctor's worst diagnosis by far. You win some, you lose some, and I lost one right there. I will eat my crow for the rest of the season. You guys are more than welcome to bring it up every week. I will take my dunking on. I will take the L. Yeah, I was wrong big time. Might have outsmarted myself on that one. Pearchamp says, who'd you say is more likely to make the playoffs, Packers or Vikings, or do you think both will make the playoffs? Well, here we go, and this is a nice little lead-in question here to the Rams. Let's pull up the Packers schedule here too, and we'll pull up the Vikings, right? This NFC playoff race is starting to get really, really fascinating. Do I think both of them could make it? There is a world. Oh, 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions for Bryce Young. Yeah, okay, yeah. That makes sense too. Man, I'm really just oh, I was wrong about the Panthers. It's just like every time because I think that's what I had the record at. Like anytime I just am reminded of that, I'm like, oh, it's like that commercial, the Gatorade commercial. Was it with D Wade and KD where they wake up from their nightmare they're about to get dunked on? That's where I'm at right now with the Panthers. But Packers or Vikings for the playoffs? Man. Well, so the Vikings are on their bye this week, right? Which kind of makes me sad. I want to get back out there after a sour taste in my mouth from last week, but maybe it's a good time for our bye so Jefferson can come back. And then it's the defining stretch of our season. Raiders, Bengals, Lions, Packers, Lions. And I tell you what, I mean, to go off your question, Vikings, Packers, New Year's Eve, Sunday Night Football might be a play-in game of sorts for these two teams. I mean, this game went from looking like not much to, oh my goodness, this might be one of the biggest games of the year for the Vikings and Packers. And just add a nice little wrinkle to a historic classic rivalry, right? Just football at its best. Vikings and Packers, man. It does not get much better than that. Yes, you can say historically that the Packers have a bigger rivalry with the Bears. Deep down, I know that, right? But man, it's just, I'm kind of weird in that I don't really hate the Packers, to be honest. I don't. I mean, obviously, when it's game time, I want to take it to them, and we have to be better than them, right? But it's more of a respectful, brotherly rivalry, where it's you want to be. Dude, I'm gonna get cooked by Vikings fans for saying this, but it's like the Packers are our older brother, but we want to get there. Eventually we're going to hit puberty too, and then we'll be able to beat our older brother in basketball. And there have been times where we have beaten them and taken the division from them and stuff, but I know I'm going to get cooked. How could you call the Packers your older brother? I don't know. I think it's so cool how the Packers are a rival. I think it's awesome that we're rivals with a relevant team and that it's a rivalry with history, and it's not Jaguars-Titans rivalry. No disrespect to the Jags or Titans, right? But, this just hits a little different. That's my opinion. But the Packers, they've got the Chiefs, then the Giants, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Bears. I would say the Packers probably have an easier schedule down the stretch than the Vikings. The Packers already got their Lions games out of the way. The Vikings have to play the Lions twice in 3 weeks. And this game might mean everything. The Vikings have a 1-game lead right now, but they play again. And the Packers are a much different team from when they met here. And so are the Vikings. I think we're going to learn a lot about the Vikings in this Raiders game. How this Josh Dobbs offense, or maybe Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall, who knows at this point, but how this Kirkless offense looks with Jefferson, because we have not seen that yet. How can we integrate Jefferson back into the offense? He has not played since this game. It's been a lot of games without Justin Jefferson, and different guys have stepped up, right? And we've seen some good performances. We've seen some not so good performances. How can you integrate him back into the offense, getting him the ball sufficiently enough while not costing the other weapons like Hawkinson and Addison a place at the table? That is a bit of an underrated challenge. It's easy to just assume that Jefferson's going to come back and therefore everything is going to be so much better. But you kind of have to change the offense that you've been running for 2 months now. That's not a minor task. And so I think it's good that we have the bye to try and work him back in, and this coaching staff can take an extra week to figure out how are we going to make this work? How can we feed everyone while also getting, in my opinion, the best receiver in the NFL, The Rock, enough? So, I don't know. Depending on how this offense looks against the Raiders, because at this point, I'm not worried about the defense whatsoever. The Vikings' defense is nasty. It is awesome. They play well every week. Brian Flores is him, and the safeties are elite. Daniil Hunter has had a great season. They've had good play from all three levels, really. Ivan Pace has stepped up and made some good plays. I'm not worried about the defense whatsoever. I think this is a playoff caliber defense. But can this offense, without Kirk Cousins, with Josh Dobbs now coming back to earth, can they be good enough to squeak out some wins? They're at 6-6. They're going to need to win some games, and they will probably need to win this game. I think if the Vikings lose to the Packers, they miss the playoffs. This game will be a decider. I think there's a world where they could both make it, but I'm not counting out this team either. But the Packers have the tiebreaker over the Rams, so maybe that helps us. To answer your question, though, I've been talking a lot. It's so hard for me to say. I want to say the Vikings, obviously, right? I really do. Ask me again after the Raiders game. How about that? As much of a cop-out as that might be. I still lean towards the Vikings right now, but if they come out flat against the Raiders again, I might switch to the Packers. I genuinely might. But ask me again after the Raiders game. Sorry to not fully answer your question there. We kind of went through the different scenarios, but this is a educational game right here. I think they both are about even right now, though. We got Henry in here. Says, hope you're doing well this morning, Eric. Welcome to the stream, Henry. Good to have you in here. I think I've recovered well from yesterday, obviously. Sad about Georgia losing. But it was a good run. You know, you can't be too upset. We had a heck of a run. But it's good to be back doing these in the morning. It's been a long time since we've had a little Pigskin pregame action. And you know what? As I said, at least one of my college teams won. Go watch back the highlights. NDSU with a big win in Bozeman. Oh, go Bison. Go Bison. So at least we have the Bison. Well, at least I have the Bison. But UGA, we'll be back. We'll be back. As long as we have Kirby, we will always be relevant. Gabe back in here as well says, sorry, I'm a fraud. Went on a 5K and you're back. Well, welcome back. And you know what? Good on you if you're getting some exercise in. Nice little 5K action. Parachamp saying, to be honest, I think the Packers are getting overhyped with the Lions game. Yes, it was a good game, but that was the Packers playing at their peak. The Packers are not likely to play like that often. To play devil's advocate, though, and you want to talk about an educational game, I'm curious to see how they fare against the Chiefs, an elite-level defense, on Sunday night. But I don't know, they've just kind of been playing better over this stretch in general, and they had a frustrating loss to the Steelers. And no, they have not been quite at the level as they were on Thanksgiving, but I believe in Matt LaFleur as a coach. I really do, and it's just kind of crazy. Like, I don't know, their offense looks good when they're not making silly mistakes. They've got some intriguing pieces in the receiver room, and the running game still concerns me a little bit. When Aaron Jones is not out there, I do not fully trust their running game. They kind of need him. But the receivers have kind of been working. Jaden Reed has looked like a good player. I love their tight ends. Tucker Kraft, it's a shame Luke Musgrave got hurt. The offensive line is healthier now, and it's been good. The defense worries me some. Their defense is still inconsistent, but man, they've got good players. Are they getting a little overhyped? Maybe. I don't know. I think it's easy to get excited, though, about this different iteration of the Packers truly starting to run like a full-on Matt LaFleur style of offense, where before it was what Matt LaFleur wanted to do is different from what Aaron Rodgers wanted to do. Aaron Rodgers wanted to get to the line quickly, take deep shots down the field, try and get the defense to jump off sides, get those free plays. Aaron Rodgers wanted his own style of offense. Matt LaFleur wanted his. Now we're seeing LaFleur fully at the wheel, and things are starting to come together. And Jordan Love seems like a good quarterback to run that offense. If you guys watch the play sheet with Ben Solak, he did a really good breakdown on Jordan Love and what he's been doing well these past few weeks. And he's doing a lot of the boring stuff well. And so that's an encouraging sign. But you want to talk about a Shanahan scheme offense. Let's talk about Browns Rams. Mile Marker saying NDSU go Bison, and Henry says Jermaine Burton enemy number one. Yeah, that man was talking crazy for no reason. Go celebrate with your team, Jermaine. We get it. You transferred. You went to Alabama. You want to act all tough and talk to the UGA student section. Congratulations. We have won the battle in your head. You just won the biggest game of the season. And instead of celebrating with your teammates who you've been working with all year to make this happen, you just have to get a few digs in at us. Congratulations, Jermaine. Good for you, I guess. But yeah, that's right. I forgot about that, Mile Marker. Professored several years at NDSU, always loyal to the Bison. Let's go. I forgot about that. That is a nice little piece of Dr. Pigskin Mile Marker lore right there. That is awesome. It is a small world, man. It really is. But yeah, the Bison, winningest team in FCS playoff history now. Big game in Vermilion against South Dakota next week. I will be watching. FCS playoff football is beautiful. All right. Browns-Rams, one of the biggest games of the week. Rams are favored, and the Rams have been the team of Dr. Pigskin this year. They were my bold prediction. They're gonna sneak into the playoffs. After like 2 games, I was saying that. And things calmed down for a while, but they're back in it. They are right back in it. The offense is starting to look like maybe they've got something with the running game. Kyron Williams comes back and lights the world on fire. Matthew Stafford is playing some great football. They've still got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. And the defense, again, I said this earlier, but with what they're working with and what they're getting out of their defense is just truly incredible. And you have to give a lot of props to Raheem Morris for doing a great job just coaching his tail off with this defensive unit that was stripped for parts just to survive the salary cap. But they're playing well. They are. Aaron Donald has had a nice bounce back year, right? He's beating the washed allegations. Byron Young has been a very good rookie pick for them. Kobe Turner's been good. And I don't know what else to say, man. It's been a unit that's punched well above their weight. And they're going up against the Browns, who are going to be trotting out Joe Flacco. It's Joe Flacco and Matthew Stafford going up against each other in the year 2023. Who would have thought? Joe Flacco versus Matthew Stafford. When's the last time we saw this matchup? I wonder. But they lost to the Broncos. They scored 12 points, right? They decided, let's bring in a veteran quarterback. DTR has just not been it. PJ Walker has just not been it. I guess they saw Joe Flacco come in last year when he was on the Jets and lead that crazy comeback. And they're like, you know what? Let's get this man on the team. And he's going to start. They announced him as their starter. I genuinely have no idea what that's going to look like. I don't have a ton of faith in this offense right now, right? They're predicated on the running game. They're without their star running back. Jerome Ford has been pretty good, though. They've got some good receivers. Amari Cooper. David Njoku has been like a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. One of the coolest developments in an NFL player's career recently has been David Njoku turning into this awesome, just mauler of a blocker while still being a solid receiving threat. It's been cool to see. I mean, he nearly got, I don't want to say kicked off the team. He nearly got traded away because Kevin Stefanski was like, yeah, you need to block in this offense. And you know what? David Njoku put in the work, and he makes it work in the running game now, man. It's a cool development to see. I love David Njoku. And, of course, we all know about how great this defense is. Maybe they've preyed on inferior opponents at times, but Myles Garrett, one of the best players in the NFL. This whole defensive line in general, I mean, they're deep. They're good at all 4 spots. Even some of their second unit guys are good. They are without Denzel Ward, worth noting. Corner 1. Give me the Rams. I almost hesitate to pick the Rams because the one thing I think the Browns can do is they can maybe pressure Matthew Stafford. And that has been probably the biggest thing that has held the Rams back and been a factor in the games that they've lost this year is when you pressure Matthew Stafford, this offense drops off a little bit. Stafford's a bit older. He's dealt with injuries. He can't quite get away from the pressure the way he used to. Even back in his prime, he wasn't like a mobile quarterback. And the game has just changed so much from when he first came up with the Lions. But we have seen this Rams offensive line get beat at the line of scrimmage sometimes. However, with Kyren Williams back now, that extra dimension of a running game, it's not all on Stafford like it has been at times. And, they've also had a few losses where they haven't had Stafford out there. So, healthy Stafford, healthy Kyren Williams, no Denzel Ward. I'd like to see Cooper Kupp maybe get involved a little bit. He has kind of been the wide receiver too this year, to be honest, behind Puka. Like, even with Kupp healthy now, he did not do much last week. I still think he's a great player, obviously, but maybe get him involved a little bit more. They are very deep at receiver, and I just don't know how much, with Joe Flacco just coming in, and he's a veteran, and so he knows the NFL pretty well, and, like, maybe this isn't as big of a factor, but he's just kind of, like, spawning into this game, The Rams have the clear advantage at quarterback. Give me the Rams, man. 24-20. They'll squeak out a close one, and they're one step closer to the playoffs. If this is a big game for the Rams right here, though, I will say. They kind of do need to win this one because they do have a few tough games left on their schedule. They've got the Ravens and then the Niners. But I would say the Browns, Commanders, Saints, and Giants are all winnable. And again, they have that tiebreaker over Seattle, but they don't against the Packers. This could be a huge result. And it's a shame because the Rams are without Stafford for this game, but that's just how it be. You got to win your games. But give me the Rams. I just will not get off the Rams train yet. Got to keep it rocking and rolling. Here we go. Game of the week, maybe game of the year. In Philadelphia, an NFC Championship rematch after all the trash talk from this offseason, right? Players jawing back and forth at each other, calling each other trash, lucky, crybabies. A little bit of toxicity, which I welcome. Let's bring some bad blood back into the NFL a little bit. These two teams do not like each other. They're not in the same division, but they're about at the same level. They're both in a Super Bowl window. Let's do this. Eagles, 49ers. Eagles, they just keep finding ways to win. They just do. I mean, you could argue they've gotten outplayed in some of their wins, right? They've gotten outgained by 90 yards in like their last however many games, but it just has not mattered. They get over the finish line. They make plays when they need to. Jalen Hurts hitting big touchdown passes. Defense getting big stops. I mean, the recipe really is that, like, this team has some great wide receivers that can beat you over the top. Third and fourth and short are almost automatic for them, so that just opens up their playbook. They don't have to worry about getting 8 yards on 3rd and 8. They can get 7 and then just come back and pick up the 4th down. And their pass rush can close out games, right? Defensively, I think they've had more of a drop-off than offensively. Their secondary has been a little concerning at times. Their corners have not quite played as well, but the pass rush is still there. They have dudes everywhere. I mean, these are all dudes right here. And it can take over a game late. They can close games out. That's how they've been able to win these games. So, I think that is how they've been able to win all these games. But I worry about the secondary, the spine of the defense. No Zach Cunningham either, right? So they're weak at linebacker a little bit. The corners have not been holding up quite as good. Bradbury hasn't had his best season. Slay hasn't had his best season. And they're going up against the Niners, who rumors of their demise were greatly exaggerated. Greatly exaggerated, right? Oh, 3-game losing streak, it's over. Purdy is a fraud. They are not as good. It's over. Nope. They're back. They are back. They were never gone to begin with, to be honest. They were just injured, and I don't know. Things just didn't bounce their way. Blowout win, blowout win, blowout win. They are very much back. Purdy is back to looking pretty good. Not elite, but like good enough, The 49ers need this game if they want the number 1 seed. They do. This is more or less a must-win game if they want that first-round bye. They have to go into Philly. It is surprising that they're 3-point favorites. And I'm taking the Niners. I like the Niners in this game a lot. I like the Niners passing attack. I think this could be a conversation-changing game for Brock Purdy. Not in that, we need to talk about Brock Purdy being as good as Patrick Mahomes. But if he can go out there and do his job again today, right? And as much as you might say, oh, it's the system, Brock Purdy is Kyle Shanahan's avatar, his puppet, whatever, right? Everything is laid out for him. Maybe, but as I always like to say, he's a system QB. Who cares? The system is awesome. And if that system could beat the Eagles in Philly, who really cares? They can beat any team. They're so loaded everywhere else. You want to talk about a good-on-good matchup, right? Niners D-line versus Eagles O-line, one of the best good-on-good matchups of the season. The trenches battle is going to be great. But where I really think the Niners are going to win this game is through the air, believe it or not. I could see George Kittle in line for a huge game going up against these banged-up linebackers. Kyle Shanahan, a coach that just likes to target the middle of the field. That's where the Eagles are weakest. I could see Brandon Ayuk having a nice game against these Eagles corners that haven't been quite as good and have let up big plays and big performances. I honestly think Purdy might go for like 300 yards and 2 touchdowns today, and this is a game we'll have to be like, you have to take him seriously. No matter what. Give me the 49ers to put up some points. 49ers 31, Eagles 21. Big statement win for the 49ers. I like the Niners a lot in this game. I do. Henry asks, do you think Sean McVay or Aaron Donald retirement rumors come back in the offseason? Oh, I mean, it's inevitable at this point, right? That's just like the daily or annual song and dance, I should say. Like, that's just kind of been how it's been, like, really since they won the Super Bowl. It's been, are they going to retire or not? So, the conversations will always be there. Who knows how long they'll stick around, but there's always been chatter. Gabe asks, live reaction to the college football playoffs doctor, and he misspelled it and said, I'm a fraud. If I can find a way to pull it up, I don't have my TV in here right now. I guess I didn't really think that through. I guess I could pull it up on my phone. I'm scared to pull it up on my computer because I don't want like black SUV trucks from ESPN pulling up and be like, that's our broadcast, take it down, I guess I could pull it up on my phone, but then I wouldn't be able to check chat unless I just had it up on my computer, but that'd be hard to see. I'll keep my eyes on it on ESPN, I guess. Or you guys could just tell me like what happens and I can react to it. If one of you in chat wants to do me a solid and just say what the rankings are, that might be the best approach. But yeah, if I had my TV in here, I've definitely pulled it up because, the show is on right now. We're about to find out and learn. But please do let me know because I would like to talk about these rankings a little bit. I'm not a college football expert by any means. I definitely don't have my PhD in the college game. But I'm very intrigued, and I'd love to have a nice little discussion with you guys here as we gear up. We're now less than an hour away from the kickoff of a great Sunday slate. Let's dive into the Sunday night game here. So we're going to talk about, we have a few more comments here. Pearchamp says, I think the Eagles got this game. I hope for a great game like the Bills last week. Bills versus Eagles, definitely game of the year so far. I 110% agree with you. Just great football on both sides. Great quarterback play from both of them, right? In the rain, in the elements, it didn't matter. Both teams putting up 30-plus points. Yeah, game of the year so far. I was on the edge of my seat. Let's do it again this week, huh? And Henry says, I think the Eagles are really going to falter down the stretch. I just feel like they're due for a loss. They've been in so many close games, and they've been able to eke them out, but this 49ers team is just different. And one of my hot takes that I will stand by, I genuinely think the Niners would have beat the Eagles in the conference championship game last year if they had Purdy. I truly believe that. That game was closer than the final score indicates. I genuinely think if Purdy didn't go down, it was really a close game for most of it. Like, you kept watching this game, and like the 49ers defense was balling out, and they keep getting these stops, and you think, man, if the 49ers could just score another touchdown here, like they're right back in it, right? Eagles go on a crazy run to score 2 touchdowns late, and then they didn't score for almost the entire third quarter, and at this point, that kind of ended it. I don't know, man. With Purdy, I think they might have found a way to get it done. A lot of it was just vibes-based, but that injury completely changed the game. I like the 49ers to get their revenge in this one, back in Philly even. We'll see, though. I'm hoping for another good game. Parachamp says, I think it'd be funny if the Eagles' only loss this season was to the Zach Wilson-led Jets. Oh, yeah. Just comical stuff right there. Like, Mr. Zach Wilson being the only quarterback that could beat the Eagles. it was just a weird game. And the Jets defense balled out in that game. They forced some turnovers. That was Jalen Hurts' maybe. I wouldn't even say he was bad in that game, but yeah. They just don't feel as good as last year. But it also doesn't really matter because they're 10-1. So who really cares? They're still a legit Super Bowl contender. 100%. All right, Sunday night game. Chiefs, Packers. Talk about a like nice little journey here for Jordan Love. Last time we saw this matchup, it was Jordan Love's debut, and there's just this air of mystery of, oh, what's it going to look like? We haven't seen Jordan Love play, right? He's just been this mystery man that's been kept under wraps. How is it going to look? And it was rough. I mean, Jordan Love came in very unprepared. The Packers couldn't really muster much on offense. It was kind of a close game, but he was just kind of bombing it to Devontae Adams, which I guess you can't really blame him for. But now, we are starting to see the upside of Jordan Love in this Matt LaFleur offense, and we saw it on full display on Thanksgiving. He has been showing some really good quarterback play recently. The receivers are stepping up. The defense even made some plays. Right? Well, you've talked about the Packers a fair amount. Going up against the Chiefs, it is in Lambeau, right? Chiefs with a big win against the Raiders. I kind of said my piece on this game on Monday, but I'll rehash it a little bit. Rashee Rice has been a big development here for the Chiefs. He has become the wide receiver one, and as great as Kelsey is, he cannot carry this entire receiving core on his back. And so now that they have a competent second option in Rashee Rice, and they've still got Pacheco that they can turn to, this offense really is looked as good as it has all season. Mahomes, we all know that he's still good. He's never been like the problem, right? He hasn't quite played up to maybe his highest possible standard. I don't think he's been as good as he was last season. Last season is just jaw-dropping quarterback play. Still obviously been very good. Made some just disgusting throws in this game. That one to Kelsey that I talked about on Monday. I mean, come on. What can you do against that, right? But the offense is maybe starting to come together. If they can continue to get this going with Rashee Rice, Kelsey and Rice being the guys, and even they use Pacheco some as a receiver. They won't have Jerick McKinnon in this game, I don't think. This offense has been top 5, top 10 in most metrics. It's still very good, but you feel like it could be better, and maybe they're starting to become better. And all season long, the story with the Chiefs has been their defense. Top 5 defense, maybe even top 3. Good players everywhere, well coached. I don't need to keep saying it. You guys know it. I know it. We all see it. It's Mahomes and an elite defense, And I've been talking up the Packers for a lot this stream. A lot of people like the Packers as an upset, This guy right here, I've seen some people on Twitter saying Packers might be a good upset. 6 points is a big spread. I am going with the Chiefs, though. With how they looked last week, you could make the case that this is still the best team in the NFL, even at 8-3, even after losing to the Eagles. How can you pick against Mahomes and a good defense in a game where as good as the Packers have looked, the Chiefs are clearly a better team. Again, I could see the Chiefs kind of going on a run of sorts, closing out the season really strong, maybe even winning out, getting to 14-3, and they're the 1 seed again. Very well could happen. But I want to see how this offense looks. And I would love to see Jordan Love go up against this elite defense. Man, if the Packers are competitive in this game and Love plays well, then I think you really start to buy the hype, Maybe the Packers are slightly overhyped right now. But if they do it again tonight against this great defense, then you really start to get excited a little bit over Jordan Love and this Packers offense. This is a good test right here for Green Bay. How competitive can they be? I think they'll be moderately competitive. I'm going to say the Chiefs put up a decent amount of points, though. I'm going to say Kansas City hangs 34 on them. I still don't fully trust this Packers defense. They do have a lot of talent. I'm not sold on Joe Barry as their defensive coordinator. I don't know, man. Give me the Chiefs 34, Packers 21. 2-touchdown win around, I don't know, maybe they missed an extra point or something. But I like the Chiefs in this one. Little statement win right here. But the Packers will look solid. One more game to go. It's hard to believe already. It's 12:09 here. Bengals, Jaguars, and as I talked about earlier, it is a shame that Burrow is hurt. It has taken away most of the excitement of this Bengals team. And it's really taken away the excitement of what would have been a truly great Monday night game, in my opinion. This is a fun little rematch from 2 years ago, a good Thursday night game. If you want to go watch Burrow versus Lawrence, go watch back the Thursday night game. I think it was week 2 or week 3. Bengals Jaguars 2021. This was Lawrence's rookie season. Urban Meyer was on the sideline for the Jaguars. And after that rookie season, this was the game I kept coming back to where it's like, no, Trevor Lawrence is not a bust. Trevor Lawrence has it in him. He played great in this game. And he just made some throws that's like, yeah, the Trevor Lawrence that we all want is in there. But the Jaguars were just a joke. But now they're not a joke. They're 8-3, coming off maybe their biggest win of the season, a big win against the Texans. You want to talk about an offense that's turned the corner. Since the 49ers just absolutely pasted them, they seem to have figured out something on offense. The passing game has been there the past 2 weeks. They've opened it up a little bit more. Lawrence's average depth of target has gone way up. They've been pushing the ball more down the field. They've been getting the ball to Calvin Ridley. They've been setting up big plays off play action. It's not just like this dink and dunk offense, which Lawrence is good at getting the ball out quick and making those reads. It's been all right, but this is the offense I've been waiting for, and I kept saying it. I kept waiting for it, right? It looked like it might not happen, but it's like, man, if we can just get this version of the Jags offense that we saw last year, where you also have Calvin Ridley in there now, this is a very scary team. And the defense has been good all year. Defense played pretty well against the Texans. C.J. Stroud had a nice game, but you hold him to 21. And it's all there for the Jaguars. They are a Super Bowl dark horse, in my opinion, and a 1-seed dark horse, as we kind of talked about. I honestly think this team might be starting to peak at the right time. And against the Bengals, a team that just did not show much against the Steelers. And what can you really do with Jake Browning out there, right? He came in against the Ravens on Thursday night, and he looked competent. He didn't look like a deer in the headlights. But they scored 10 points against Pittsburgh. There's just not much you can do. And this team has been a little up and down all season. They, too, have struggled to play complementary football. Sometimes the defense has let up big plays like this game right here. It's just such a shame, right? After this run right here, this little 4-game streak with Burrow playing well, and even this game, right? Burrow looked so good, and it's like Burrow might be MVP. The Bengals are going to find a way back in, as they always do, and then he goes down. His season is over. And the Bengals' season is over now. I mean, let's be real with ourselves. They're 5-6. Mathematically, they still have a path, but this team is not making the playoffs. And it's such a shame. But I like the Jaguars in this one. Give me the Jaguars 28, Bengals 13. Convincing win for the Jags. As Parachamp says, this is also Jordan Love's revenge game, as his first start was against the Chiefs. It was, yeah. And it'll be nice to see maybe a full circle moment for Love from the game back in 2021 with the air of mystery. Now there's not mystery, but there kind of is. How is he going to fare against this elite defense? But yeah, that is our Week 13 slate right here. A good one, a very good one. We ran through the games. We made some picks here. I don't know. Let's see. How is this college football show shaking out right now? Here's what I'm gonna do. Actually, all right. So I'm gonna switch the camera. Right. I'm going to switch it to me so my screen doesn't show it, and I'm going to pull up the selection show, and we can discuss this before signing off here, because I would just like to see how this shakes out. I don't know how long they're going to milk this or drag it out before they drop the rankings. They're going to tour all the campuses, I'm sure, show like the team sitting in some like lecture hall, like waiting, but is it not going to let me play on YouTube TV with me on OBS? Maybe if I try ESPN, they'll let me. I wonder. Maybe I'll have to find another workaround or something. But yeah, I've signed into my TV provider. Come on now. But we're not trying to get banned from YouTube here, so that's why I'm not showing it up on my screen, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would just do that. That'd be easier. But come on, please work. It's loading. I don't know. It's being weird. I think it's mad that I'm running OBS right now, to be honest. I think it's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. Which is, legally speaking, probably true. But I'm not showing it. Like I promised ESPN, I'm not showing your broadcast on my stream. I don't know. We'll see. The AP poll is out, if anyone cares about that. The AP poll has Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Florida State. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I could try and sign in on my phone, and then I could just check chat on here. That might work, honestly. Let me do that. How about instead? Oh, my computer is, like, overheating right now. Like, the fan is running. It's got so many things running at once. All right. So we're going to pull up my stream on the computer so I can check chat. And then I will pull up the playoff on my phone. Now we're problem solving. All right, here we go. All right, so we've got a live reporter right now at Florida State. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should Florida State get in or not? I mean, they have the resume, right? They're an undefeated Power 5 conference championship. I don't think you can ding them. Like, it is tough because if you want to go off the eye test or just total team strength, right? They're probably not one of the 4 best teams in college football, and especially without their starting quarterback, like, you know, they probably just aren't. But is it fair to leave them out? I don't know that that's fair to them. And I would certainly be ticked off if I was Florida State, like getting penalized because of an injury, but you've done nothing but win. So I think they probably have to make it right. But then someone is going to get left out. Teams are going to get left out no matter what, right? Because if Florida State gets in, right, then you have Florida State, Michigan, and Washington. Those are your 3 locks. Then you have 1 spot left for like either Bama or Texas. And it's hard to like put one of those guys in but not the other. Well, you could put Texas in and not Bama. You totally could. Maybe they do that. You can't, in my opinion, there's no way that you can put Bama in but not Texas. To me, that is terrible. The 2 teams played. What's the point of even playing? And you could say, oh, it's earlier in the year, whatever. The teams are different. What is the point of Texas scheduling Alabama then if they can beat them and not make it? I think that's just grossly unfair. I think that would be the worst, most egregious outcome in my opinion. I don't think that they would do that, right? Bama might be mad if they get left out as a 1-loss SEC champ that beat the number 1 team. I get the feeling they might be in, to be honest, right? They're an SEC champ, 1 loss. They beat Georgia, who is number 1 almost wire to wire. And maybe they didn't beat the brakes off everyone. Yeah, whatever. They scraped by Georgia Tech. But, come on. I mean, we all know, like, we've got 2 minutes and 31 seconds before the show comes back. Oh, ESPN. I get it. You want to build up the drama and the suspense. I hope this won't spill over into like the NFL slate, right? I don't think so, but I am like, this is the most intriguing and suspenseful like selection process we've maybe had, you know. So I am watching. Got a few comments here in the chat. So Parachamp says, also rip JT with the thumb injury. That hurt my fantasy. Maybe he can come back for the fantasy playoffs. Yeah, how's your fantasy team doing? Hey, you've got Kyron Williams back now, though, right? Shame about Joe Burrow going down for Jamar Chase, too. I know you have him, but maybe he can come back. My fantasy teams have been struggling a little bit recently. Henry says if Bama's left out, that's ridiculous. They're a better team right now than Texas. You have to look at the resume more than head-to-head in September. I get what you're saying. Like, if they played again, they might win. But again, like, I don't know. Don't you want to incentivize like these big non-conference games? If you're Texas, what is the point of ever scheduling Bama then? Why wouldn't you like just play like Texas School for the Blind instead? Like, and I guess if they didn't beat Bama, Texas wouldn't look as strong to begin with. I get what you're saying, though. I mean, you could make that compelling argument. I just, like, and that's one thing that, like, makes college football fascinating but also frustrating for me, is that so much of it is just arbitrary, right? It's all these hypothetical arguments of, like, well, if we beat them at home in September versus winning, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally get what you're saying, though. Like, that is a reasonable take to have, that Bama would beat Texas if they played again. But they played already, and, like, that's got to mean something. These games have to mean something. Otherwise, it's just guys in suits picking off vibes, you know? I don't know. You can't. There's no perfect answer here, though. There is no perfect answer. And I get, like, I have an interesting person when it comes to college football. Not that that sounded pretentious. I don't mean it like that, but just like I have my own opinions. Mile Marker says, well, great fun show as always. Come on, Lions, especially. Come on, coaches. Let's see some adapting during the game. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know what? Yeah, let's go Lions, I guess. I mean, yeah, beat the Saints. Yeah. The division is pretty much over. The Vikings are not taking the division, so my qualms with the Lions have been significantly reduced now. Not that I ever hated the Lions, but here we go. We're about to see this selection. You too, man. Thank you. Hope we all have fun here today. I think, and I'm sure you saw this in the group chat, Henry, but I think this year 8 would have been perfect. And yeah, you can say maybe 12 was too much, but I think my biggest thing is just like, I don't know. Parachamp. Okay, so your fantasy team is 7-5. Need one more win to lock in the playoffs. Already have 2 losses, but less than 5 points. And last week was a shootout. Bears kicker missed at the start, saved my win. All right, well there you go. At least that missed kick helped one team. Golly. All right, can we please just skip to the selection here? Are they gonna milk it for 30 minutes before they drop it on us? Talking in the studio right now. I don't know. Okay, so I guess Henry and anyone else that's invested in this college football selection, drop your top 4 in the chat. I think, if I was on the committee, well, they might be about to show it. All right, forget that. Or do it if you want to. Are they going to show it? So number 1's got to be Michigan, right? Yeah, okay, that checks out. Michigan is 1. Washington will probably be 2. And then 3 and 4, that's where things get funky. I wonder how far Georgia is going to fall. I don't think Georgia gets in, to be honest. That would probably be the thing that would make the most people mad. If, like, both Bama and Georgia got in. There's no way they would do that, but that would probably upset the most people. I mean, if you really want to go off the 4 best teams, Bama and Georgia probably should be in, but there's a round of applause for Jim Harbaugh smiling down from the heavens. All right, number 2 is obviously Washington, right? Henry says Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Texas. I don't hate that. I would feel bad for Florida State, but I totally understand that. Tyler says Michigan, Washington, Alabama, FSU. Oh, man. I mean, there's just no perfect answer. There isn't. But we do, I mean, the top 2 is pretty clearly set, right? Michigan, Washington. They just showed Washington right there sliding into number 2. So they'll both get to have the home field advantage of sorts. Michigan gets to pick where the bowl games are. What are the bowl games this year for the playoff? I don't remember the rotation off the top of my head. I wonder where these teams will be going. Henry says, I think FSU will and should be left out. I think there's a chance. Oh, man, there's going to be some upset people in Tallahassee. Texas. Oh, Texas is 3. Wow. Woo-hoo. All right, so we have Washington versus Texas. Texas jumped 4 spots. Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl. Okay, nice. Nice. I like how the Rose Bowl gets to be a playoff game. The granddaddy of them all. Look at Texas going crazy. Texas is in. Should I say it? Should I say the line? Should I dare say the line? Would this doom them? I'm going to say it. Longhorn Nation, we're back. Who's number 4? Oh, who is it going to be? That is fair. Clemson did get in when they were undefeated. Are they going to ding them for that injury, though? I don't know. I mean, can you? Is that fair? Objectively speaking, they are a worse team without Jordan Travis out there. But, you know. Oh, they did not leave out Ohio State. Granted, Ohio State also hung like 59 with Cardale Jones in the conference championship game, whereas Florida State like scrapped out a win. But a win is a win. Oh, what are you going to do here? I feel like it. Georgia will be 6, though, probably, right? 6 is going to be Georgia. Has to be. Yep. Okay, that's legit, right? You can't put them above Bama, right? And you can't put them up against undefeated Florida State. So it all comes down to who gets in. Is it Bama or FSU? This is the big question. This is what we've all been waiting for. Oh, the suspense is killing me. And 4. It is Bama. Oh, no. FSU gets left out. Bama gets in. Oh. Michigan versus Bama. Washington versus Texas. Florida State, the undefeated Power 5 champion, left out of the playoffs. Oh, a gut punch. Wow. There's no perfect answer. There really isn't. I mean, you can't hate it. Tyler says it's going to be Oregon and we're going to puke. Oregon is probably like 7 or 8 if I had to guess. But, oh, man. I mean, I don't know what to say, man. There's no perfect answer. Bama is better than Florida State. Let's be honest with ourselves. But Florida State did nothing wrong. Oh, I feel for Florida State, but I understand the rationale. Henry was right. Henry, you have earned your doctorate in the college game. I'm presenting you now with your PhD. You are Professor Pigskin. There we go. Henry is right once again. Bang. Look at that. All right. We've got the field set. Michigan, Alabama, Washington, and Texas. Instant picks, and then we'll wrap things up here because I got to get ready for Sunday myself. I'm going to say Alabama over Michigan and Texas over Washington. Alabama-Texas rematch. Just off vibes, to be honest. I couldn't break down why, But, all right. That was a good stream, y'all. It's good to go back live on a Sunday morning. Another Pigskin pregame in the books. Crazy, crazy college football selection just wrapped up. We've had a great weekend of football. Let's keep it rocking and rolling with the great vibes. Let's go have a great Sunday. Thank you guys all for waking up, spending your Sunday morning with me. I hope you guys enjoy the games as much as I'm about to go enjoy the games. And may the discourse around this college football selection prevail. I don't know. That was a bad word, but you know what I mean. May we have some intriguing discourse around this selection committee. Henry says Bama's going to win it all. I'm going to take your word for it, man. You've kind of been on a heater recently. Bama wins it all. All right, lock it in. Take care, Doctor. Thank you. You too, Pair Champ. You guys all have a great day. I love you all. Hope to see you all again soon. I'll be trying to go live, and maybe I can even go live from Fargo some over the winter break. But that's still a ways away. But for now, let's go enjoy these games. Let's have a great football Sunday. Thanks for hanging out. You too, Henry. Thanks for hanging out. All right, go enjoy the football. Let's do this. Pigskin country. Let's ride. Love you guys. See y'all later. The doctor's out.